Councilmember Baldino.
Here.
Councilmember Giroux.
Here.
Councilmember Perstuck.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Pimentel.
Here.
And Mayor Boyle.
Here. Thank you. Now is the time and place for public communications. Anyone like to address this body? No? Okay. Well, welcome. Sorry I'm a few minutes late. Sorry to keep everyone waiting. Really apologize. I'm going to turn it over to Daryl. This is an important process. We've been doing this now for many years consecutively. And as you all know, whatever comes out of today will basically dictate where we spend our efforts for the next few years, and will also help drive the budget process for the year. So we take this process very seriously. Thank you for being here again, Henry. We're glad to have you, and I'll turn it over to Daryl.
Great, thank you, Mayor. And yes, this is an annual get-together, if you will, of the City Council and the executive team, as well as some mid-managers in the audience. And I'll go at the end of my remarks, maybe we'll just do a quick introduction, because we do have some new faces around the table. And maybe I'd like to start there, because as everyone knows, we do have 3 key positions were filled this year. New CFO, Paul Chung, Paul over here, our fire chief, George Avery, and our new police chief, Saul Rodriguez. And so I'm looking forward to your interactions today as we gear up to discuss, as the mayor said, kind of a blueprint for what lies ahead for us as staff and as a council, and how we work together collectively to really achieve the goals and objectives that are set out for the city of El Segundo. Personally, I come to this strategic planning workshop. I know sometimes it can get a little tedious with, spending 4 hours, and I do appreciate everyone setting aside 4 hours of their busy day. But it really is important for us as staff to really kind of get away from City Hall, talk about important matters, projects and programs and goals and objectives and strategies, so that we can move forward with an understanding of how we need to reach a certain quality of life here in El Segundo. I want to thank Barbara and Marazen, of course, for really helping put this together. Mashia also, in terms of the logistics. A lot goes into this, even though it may not seem like it, because we're just, again, looking at the goals and objectives that we established a year ago. But again, with new people around the table, new priorities, it's important, again, to reflect on those as we move forward. Because we as staff too, Council, as you know, we use this as a working document. We do visit it as an E-team at least twice a year, where it gives me the opportunity to chat with each of the department heads about what particular goals and objectives their department is responsible for. So it gives us a target for us to know that, are we on track, are we behind? So it is an important 4 hours this morning. Look forward to it. I know the rest of the team does. And real quick, I know it may take a couple minutes, but
We got time.
if we can just go around, just introduce ourselves. I know everyone knows everyone. We have some new people, some people in the audience. Real quick, and just, what your role is. Yes. We'll start.
Tracy Weaver, City Clerk.
Chris Pimentel, I'm the Mayor Pro Tem.
I'm Ally Mancini. I'm the Director of Recreation, Park, and Library Services.
Elias Sassoon, Public Works Director.
Saul Rodriguez, Chief of Police.
Lance Giroux, council member.
Ryan Baldino, Council Member.
Michael Allen, Community Development Director.
Barbara Voss, Deputy City Manager.
Paul Sherwood, CFO.
Carol Perstick, Council Member.
George Avery, Fire Chief.
Jose Calderon, IT Director.
Joaquin Vasquez, Assistant City Attorney.
Darrell George, City Manager.
Drew Boyles, Mayor.
And then Marizan?
Marizan Ramos, Special Projects Administrator.
Mashia Jennings, Executive Assistant to City Council. Diane Chabon, Communications Manager.
Gil Sanchez, Police Captain.
Teresa Solano, Senior Management Analyst for PD.
Ryan Reynolds, Police Captain.
Darnell Jenkins, Media Supervisor.
Andy Jackson, media team.
Back here.
Jacob Scott, Backus.
I'm Mark Herbert, Library Manager.
Julie Todd, Senior Librarian.
Great, thank you, everyone. So now I'll turn it over to Henry and Rhonda to take it from here. Thank
All right.
you.
Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Can we have just 2 seconds of silence for my beloved Lakers who lost last night? And you know, I have admiration for Daryl George, but I must do the shots first. Boston cannot have 18 rings before us. They just cannot. And look for me to replace Rob Pelinka. We need to start winning. Well, good morning, everyone. So what I'd like to do, with your permission, Mayor, is go through the agenda quickly to make sure we're all on the same page and talk about some other things. So we're going to start with the agenda review, which I'm going to do, and expectations for the day. Then we're going to go into a review of the strategic planning terms and definitions, just so that we have some sense of it. And then I'm going to turn this back over to Barbara, who's going to talk about her staff presentation on strategic plan achievements and proposed strategies, and how we've condensed 36 kinds of things and consolidated them down into 20 strategies. And then we're going to move on to talk a little bit more about the existing 5 goals, which you will see, but they are up for the benefit of the council and the public and staff. The existing 5 goals are on the board. We will also see them on the screen. And then we're going to talk about what is consolidated and what we plan on looking at in terms of the strategies. And then we're going to do a dot exercise with that, and you're familiar with that, with the red, blue, and green. And we're going to prioritize what you think are your top 10 items. Now, the 2 red dots are your top 10 items. And so when we do that, blue and green matter, but they'll populate depending on how your vision and how you see things occurring. We'll take a quick break, and then Rhonda and I will come to some consensus to what the dots look like in terms of the 10 new strategies. And then from that, we're going to hand out some 3x5 cards to the council. And what Rhonda will do when we get to that exercise is explain how you're going to have a deeper dive for the mayor and council as to what exactly do you want to see happen under those particular strategies. And we'll explain that in the card exercises. So I'll give you an example. If you said homelessness was a topic, the cards will allow you to define, does that mean vouchers for hotels? Does that mean medical service? Something of an actionable item that gives some direction on a very specific label that you envision occurring. The lunch break will occur, and then we'll come out, and Rhonda and I, during the lunch break, will try to aggregate the cards and come to some definition as to what the actionable items are that coincide with the strategies. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes.
Of where we're going? And then we'll do wrap up and next steps. So with your permission, Mayor, I'd like to at least start talking about item at 9:45. So we're already ahead. So let's talk about some planning terms and definitions. So I call your attention to something that was handed out to you with definition of terms. I'm just going to make sure we're on the same page. Mission describes our purpose for which we are founded and why we exist. And then there's a box with what that mission statement looks like. And then vision defines where we want to be. And then the next 3 items in particular I want to hone in on, and that is goal. What are we trying to do? Is it how we move from where we are now, the current state, to where we want to be? How does that look? And then the strategy. How are we aligning our services to achieve those goals? And then the action items, where it all comes to life. What are the specific work areas or work things that we need to do to support our strategies? And then the resources. What does that look like? Because all of our vision and what we're talking about really doesn't have substance unless you can put resources and budget dollars to it. And as I understand it, there's no greater way to start off as a CFO than to do a budget report on the finances and say, we're in a good spot. So everybody likes them today, right? We're in a good spot today. And so I think that that's great news for El Segundo as a launch pad. Any questions or queries on definitional terms so that we are all speaking the same language? Silence means you have an understanding of them. So with your permission, Mayor, what I'd like to do is turn this over to Barbara, who is going to talk about achievements and proposed strategies, and then we're going to go from there. And at any time she's going through this, she may or may not ask council members to participate, depending on your level of inquiry.
All right. Thank you, Henry. So what I'd like to do is give this group, council and E-team, an update on our status. It's the first place to start with strategic planning. What have we done towards accomplishment of each goal? And I put them all in this document. On the second page, there's a table, and you'll see all of the different updates and accomplishments. And then on the far right, you'll see ongoing projects, what we're still working on, what we've made a good start on, but it's not complete. And some of these things will probably never be complete. They'll be part of our ongoing work as a city. So goal 1 is enhance customer service, DEI, and communications. We have enhanced our communications program. We've done 282 bulletins, 178 news stories, et cetera, et cetera. The media team has been busier than ever. 117 videos uploaded to the ES Media YouTube channel. Hyperion has become a resource intense project. We implemented the communications plan for Hyperion, sponsored AB 1216 with leadership from council on that. We've established Hyperion Ad Hoc Committee. 2 council members participated in that. We created a dashboard for monitoring the 33 recommendations of the committee, the Oversight Committee for Hyperion, the committee that recommended improvements at Hyperion. So that's been complete and it's ongoing. We did our Net Promoter Survey, reported that out a couple weeks ago. The Little League World Series really took us, by pleasant surprise. Was also something for communications, rec park, planning a parade, planning live watch events, even coordinating the Rose Parade media coverage. And then strategic plan communications, we've implemented a strategic plan update that goes out once a month to council and staff, so people know where we are, what are the goals, where are we. Okay, so the next one, goal 2, I'll just cover a couple of these. We hired, as Daryl mentioned, key positions, our police chief, our fire chief, and an emergency management coordinator. The police officer recruitment has gone very well with the lateral officer bonuses, and we just had a swearing in a couple weeks ago where we had, I think, 3 new officers. Yeah. We've been doing e-bike safety outreach and training. That's a big deal right now. That's been communicated out to the public, guidelines, laws, how to ride safely, and there will be a training event hosted by the PD. Homeless outreach, PD continues to do homeless outreach, but for the next year, we have a more robust interdepartmental homeless outreach initiative that's going to be coming down the pipe. They created the You Are Not Alone program, which is a great concept to check in on seniors or people with disabilities to make sure that someone's reaching out, and if there's no answer or no response, then they can take action. Goal 3, this one is about quality workforce through teamwork and organizational efficiencies. A lot on here from the HR department. We have town hall meetings now that we've implemented with employees coming in and being able to speak one-on-one with the city manager or in a forum with the city manager. HR has been updating job descriptions, a lot of job descriptions, to better align with departmental priorities, sort of right-sizing those positions for each department. So you're not just filling an old job description that doesn't really necessarily meet the current needs of the city. Employee engagement activities, we've had a health fair, wellness challenge. We've created an internal employee engagement committee, which is a group that takes the lead on what kind of activities the employees would like and how better to get people involved and more excited about coming to work every day. And then ongoing, quite a lot of training and development. Goal 4, this is the infrastructure and technology goal. Many street improvement projects, curbs, gutters, sidewalks, El Segundo Boulevard, wastewater infrastructure projects. The Public Works team is now removing graffiti consistently within 24 hours on public facilities. We did the construction award for the Plunge, agreement award for the design of the Rec Park Phase 1, and quite a few other technology projects. And- All right, goal 5. So the finance department presented the forecasts, the really cool long-range financial forecasts that will help us make better financial decisions in the future and see the impact of those decisions. We had State of the City with 400
plus.
I knew you were going to say that. Oh, well, 500 is over 400, so it's accurate. Yes, we hired our new CFO. Ongoing recruitments from HR and beyond the executive level positions, just a lot of recruitment going on and a lot of hiring and onboarding, streamlining the onboarding process. We did the Smoky Hollow specific plan update, the downtown specific plan update from community development is coming to council next week. We did some partnerships in economic development, partnerships for startup businesses, trying to capture the momentum of the startup community here in town and looking at that as a way to bring new businesses into town, help grow existing businesses, fill up some of our commercial vacancy. And then the housing element, the R3 mixed use overlay zone from community development. Okay, so those are the highlights for the accomplishments. You can take a look on your worksheet. Anything comes to mind that you want to bring up, talk to one of the directors who's responsible for that project. And then all of those highlights are projects and action items. So they would fall under specific strategies. So we looked at the strategies that we had for last fiscal year, and we didn't take anything away. That's the role of this meeting. But we did consolidate and streamline. So we had 36 strategies, and we're down now to 20 strategies. And what I mean by that is, for example, there was a strategy for the Plunge. The strategy was complete the Plunge. There was a strategy for the Rec Park renovation project. There was a strategy for the entryway sign. So instead of having 3 separate strategies for those projects, which are actually action items, we created implement the capital improvement program strategy, and they would all fall underneath that. So technology projects now are part of 4B, the infrastructure and technology strategy. We removed that, if you remember, that technology attachment B. That was sort of at the back of the strategic plan. We brought those technology projects into the forefront, into the main plan, and there'll be action items under the technology strategy. We did add some additional strategies. Improve organizational efficiency by implementing processes and tools that facilitate effective data collection and analysis and promoting data-driven decision-making. That came from the collection of information from the public through surveys, information through point of contact surveys, information that we're getting through our new technology systems. So we wanted to capture that and measure it in that strategy. Improve mobility and transportation throughout the city. Again, that's a consolidation. That's not really new. There was a strategy for the local travel network. There was a strategy for parking solutions. There was a strategy for Park Place. So those are now all part of transportation and mobility. And then we reduce the number of workers' comp and general liability claims and expedite the resolution of claims. The reason we added that is because as we get to the next, I'm going to go through our KPIs. There was a KPI aligned with that strategy, so we wanted to make it part of the strategic plan so that as we're collecting KPIs, it aligns. Which leads me to KPIs. So we have, I think you're one ahead of me. There you go. We have 11 KPIs recommended. For goal 1, maintain a great net promoter score with a minimum.
Barbara, can I give a little background on this one?
Absolutely.
Just because this one was something that the council spent a lot of time thinking about. So when we were talking about Mr. George's performance, how we're going to evaluate his performance and also the organization's performance, we want to have very specific, quantifiable metrics that we could look to for his review. And so we deliberated this, what, Chris, over like 2 or 3 different meetings, if I remember correctly. Everyone on council participated. Everyone threw in some comments and some ideas, and then we honed that list down, and then we ran it by Barbara and Daryl for their input as well. And we feel like these really represent what we want to achieve going forward. So there was a lot of thought put into it. I just want to thank you, Barbara. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. And keep in mind the KPIs are not covering the entire strategic plan. There's probably 50 additional KPIs we can attach to the different things within the strategic plan. And I recommend each department look at KPIs, what they want to measure internally in their department. These are the ones that are going to be the official KPIs for the strategic plan. Number 1, NPS score of 50 to 70, which is in the great range. We got that in business this time. We didn't get it. We got 49 in resident. Definitely had more than 600 responses, thanks to communications outreach. Number 2, residents are satisfied with the responsiveness of city services. And how are we going to measure that? The average score of the annual community business survey questions related to those items. And then community development is also doing ongoing transactional point of contact surveys. So that'll be a good measure as well. And I think you're already capturing some of that data. Support community safety and preparedness. Residents feel safe. And we really thought about this one. How do you know if someone feels safe? People have different levels of their feelings. So we do have a Zen City social media survey that's live now that is asking that question, and we're getting data back from that. We may also want to consider collecting data from things that we're doing for the homeless and how those issues have been resolved on an individual by individual basis. Numbers of interactions, types of so we can, as we develop our homelessness program, we can look at what metrics would go with that, and that contributes to overall feeling of safety, and maybe number of calls to PD and FD. Okay, so goal 3, improved employee engagement score as measured by an annual employee survey result. So we'll set a baseline for that as we go through the survey over the next year, and then try to build on that every year. Training provided and 100% compliance with state mandated training, 100% compliance with applicable employment laws, decrease the average time to fill vacancies from the time the position is posted to the new employee's first day. And then we'll set that baseline we'll start on July 1. Decrease the number of workers, see these are the ones that tie into that new strategy, decrease the number of workers' comp and general liability claims, and decrease the time to resolve existing claims. And understanding there's a lot of different factors that go into that, but we'll look at a baseline and see a year-over-year comparison so we can know what direction we're going.
Can I ask, is filling a vacancy in a year the average? That's our baseline, that's our goal?
No, that is not.
What?
No, I think
Okay.
she's saying use the first year as a baseline. How fast are we filling, and then look for improvements beyond that.
Oh, we're gonna start measuring it now.
We'll start measuring.
We don't really
Going
have that
backwards.
metric, unfortunately, right now,
Got it.
organized well, I don't think.
That was shocking.
Yeah, so we'll look at where
Only
we
for
are.
lifeguards. it's a year.
Explains the temp cost.
Yeah. So we'll look at where we are, any recruitment that starts after July 1 and how long it takes, and kind of establish the baseline in the first year. Econ Dev and fiscal sustainability, we're looking at year-over-year growth in employee headcount and square footage through the business license process. And then improve organizational efficiency as measured by growth in funds available for CIP projects.
Can we touch on that last one real quick? That last one is another way of saying, how are we doing in terms of reducing operating expenses while maintaining revenue? Because we know we have 60 to 70, maybe $80 million of unfunded capital improvement projects ahead of us at last count. The number keeps growing. Inflation is not dropping, as you guys have all seen in the news, anytime soon. So we have to be able to find a way to set aside money for our CIP projects, as it is the plunge we've been talking about for how many years, and we still don't have the funds for that, although we're working on it. So it's how can we do, I hate to say more with less, because I know that's got a negative connotation, but that's essentially what that is.
Also, number 10 there, I think that's, I know we're looking at a baseline, right? So what are we using or planning to use as a baseline for that number? Because the reality is that headcount is not a growth number.
No, it's not. And that directly is a
If you're
measure of
looking
economic
at-
development.
If you're
right?
looking
So
at
it's not-
2020,
it's not-
2021 as your
Yeah.
baseline, then you have potential for it. But I think that's going to be as businesses change and the way people come to work and the way businesses run their businesses, that this is going to be a difficult metric. So I think we're going to have to address that.
Agree. So we can look, because our business license tax is based on number of employees and number of square feet, we can look back 10 years if we wanted to. And then going forward, it is a challenging KPI because of the economy and the way people are changing the way they work, hybrid models and working from home. And I live in New Jersey and I work at a company that's in El Segundo. How does that count towards your number of employees? So we'll establish the baseline and maybe a 3-year look back and see where we go.
To Councilmember Giroux's point, though, that's exactly why we need to be looking at it so acutely, because that's our number one revenue source.
Yes.
Or it was historically. And we know that's going to change, so we have to be looking at that very carefully. And unfortunately, we only get an annual glimpse. That's the problem. So we have a lagging indicator that directly affects our revenue. So if there's a way to get at it sooner, I don't know how, that would be better. Some indication, maybe through your real estate relationships or some other way, but vacancies are a leading indicator probably for us that we could track a little bit more closely somehow.
You could track the vacancy rate.
Yeah.
We'll go through that later, though, right? We're just listening what the KPIs
Yeah.
are right now?
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
I had to go down this because I think Lance got a great point, but anyway, all right.
Because it's just on our business license, they actually have to indicate the number of employees, and we should be able to capture that data. And that could be part of the KPI from the business license year over year, the renewal process. They do capture that data.
That's exactly right. Yep. All right. Then finally for me, just wanted to give a quick flash of tracking and monitoring progress. We are using Monday.com. We have all of our goals, all of our strategies, and then the projects and action items listed in Monday. Everybody has access to it and can give their updates, and it's been working well to see where we are on different projects. Some complete, a lot of ongoing, a lot of good progress. And projects and action items for each strategy will be established, as you know, and then the KPIs.
So on that system Monday, are you putting all this stuff that's coming in from the Fix-It button into that Monday, or is that just ancillary?
The Fix-It button is not going into Monday, but we are in the process working with IT to get a new program to help with the report an issue tracking, because we've identified one that has a very robust dashboard with charts and metrics, and the one we have now does filter correctly through, I entered a problem, it goes to Public Works, it's resolved, but we don't get any metrics out of it.
Because we were just talking, Daryl and I, yesterday, because, a lot of calls come in, emails come in, and what we want to do is try to train the populace to actually send them a link, enter it in there so that we can have a trackability. Because just to set an email and then it's these one-offs, no one knows what's happening, it's not communicate across, and there's no trackability. So we really want to get everybody, once we get that program fixed or up and running.
Yes.
With
Great program, the one that Trevor's talking about, it does all of that. We got to see a demo of it, it's fantastic. I think the residents will love it too. Easy to use.
Does it have a map?
It has a map.
It does.
I mean, without
And-
just while we're on it for 1 second, does it do email parsing? So there's technology out there that when the email comes in and it says, we get it, Rec Park flooded, and we send a thing to Elias or Ally and say, hey, Rec Park's flooded, there's programs that will just harvest that immediately and start the workflow. Like they will input directly into our software. So when we get to that point of this, that might be worth hey, if we're investing in a program, does it do the email harvesting as well, the email parsing, excuse me?
Yeah.
Right. And so now we'll go back to Henry. He's going to go through reaffirming our existing 5 goals.
So those things proposed metrics, are we finalized
Oh.
now, or are we good with them? I would love to get some agreement that those
That's
are
a
the
good
right
point.
metrics, alignment as a group.
Talk about, I recall last year, there was a goal about maintaining the small town charm. Not protecting the R1, but maintaining what El Segundo is. And I haven't heard that be discussed yet.
That's your strategy.
Okay.
Yeah. It's one we're gonna vote on, actually. I think
All
it's
right,
one-
great.
Can we get the goals back?
Then it's the last slide. There you go.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Barbara, thank you for that presentation. Any questions or comments from the mayor and council on the presentation? I think you've given some, I want to make sure, and then the KPIs, what a great launch. So if the mayor and council are comfortable with that, what I'd like to do is come back to reaffirming or changing or adding to the existing goals that you have previously adopted. So the first one, enhance customer service, diversity, equity, inclusion, and communications. The second one, of course, support community safety and preparedness, promote a quality workforce through teamwork and organizational efficiencies, develop and maintain quality infrastructure and technology, and champion economic development and fiscal sustainability. How's the temperature? Are we comfortable? You're freezing. There's a KPI for that. It's called a thermostat. I actually feel great, but I get it. Mayor and council, are we good with the continuation of these?
On the first one, I do struggle with the word equity, because what does that mean? I mean, and I just, diversity, inclusion, and communications, diversity, equality, it just, equity, like, what does that mean? Inclusion, I understand what it means, diversity, I understand, communications, equity, what does that mean?
I would move one down. I mean, how fast does someone need a building permit versus what are we looking at as far as our infrastructure and our technology? I think if we realign our focus and really try to focus on what makes the city a good city, then your customer service is going to improve. Then your communications are going to improve. I would like to spend the next couple of years kind of looking at the city, at what the city does, what we do well, what we don't do well. And I think I would move 4 up. I would move 1 down.
These aren't order of precedence, though.
Yeah.
No, they're not in order of precedence. No,
I feel
the
like
last,
they
my
are.
recollection is.
No, we
had
did, we did ask for that, because I made a big stink about it the last time, because I had they refused to move them because it screwed up their pamphlet, and I said we should be putting the priorities, the first priorities first, and so I totally agree with,
This is gonna be a
with Ryan.
3-day meeting.
Yeah, how do you,
No, it's not.
how do you come to agreement?
But I agree, I think you should have your top priority first.
Okay, so the original, are we comfortable with the 5? I'm kind of hearing yes, now it's the order of them.
I mean, I just, does anyone else have an issue with the word equity? I mean, what does it, if someone could describe what that means, what does that mean in that sentence?
Well, didn't it used to be customer service and communications?
Yes.
Okay, so I wasn't here when you made the change. Someone walk me through it.
I think it was probably 2021 we made that change in light of what was happening around us with social justice and the
No, I get it.
pandemic.
So I'm hearing a suggestion to change it. Is there appetite?
I'm okay with diversity, inclusion, and communications. I'm okay, I just, the word equity, I'm not sure if someone could tell me what it means. We put it up there because of social justice, but what does it mean? I mean,
Yeah.
what does it mean? Equality, I understand what it means. I don't want to understand.
Because it's not an operation or a task, it's okay to be squishy on a strategy. You know, a strategy like small town charm, you know, what is charm, right? We could spend, you know, all of Shakespeare's sonnets defining it. So I think that like equity as a term means like as a way that we align services, that there aren't parts of the community that we are leaving out. You know, when we do
That's
festival
equality.
holidays.
That would be equality.
What's that?
That would be equality.
Well, it can be, right, I mean, obviously, the same, we can
It's not the
parse the
same.
Latin, but in terms of the equity of, as a goal to make sure that we have an equitable provision of services, I think is fine as a bit of a squishy piece of nomenclature in there. I mean, I would agree, I mean, it's not the zingiest term, right? And it comes fully loaded in the modern era, which has its own burdens and benefits. But I don't take great issue with it being in there.
Yeah, with that explanation, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
We're gonna treat people equal,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
I mean, it seems stupid to have to say it out loud, but it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
Right?
that's what
Okay.
I'm saying. I just wanted to
I mean,
understand
we're
what
gonna
the
do it
meaning is.
anyway.
Yeah.
We're gonna treat everyone
When you
fair,
start
we're gonna give
stealing
great
cars.
customer
We're
service.
treated equal, that's, yeah.
That's it, that's it.
I
Good answer.
just put it out there, since we're wordsmithing a little bit, the word enhance as a verb implies that we're not necessarily doing a good job in this area.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there. We've used the same verb for, I don't know, last 5 years or something, but
How about optimize?
I don't want to get on, yeah, I mean, like, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but just, I think I just opened one up, sorry.
I just don't think that it affects anything that we're doing.
Yeah.
The verbiage that's up there is not
I
affecting
know, I
anything at
know, I
all,
just-
so
Yeah, it's in
I think
literature.
We're getting hung
it's-
up on
yeah.
it right now.
Okay.
There's other things.
Move on.
But that's just my opinion.
So I think the context that I'm hearing is there's a recommendation to add customer service to the number one.
It's up there. I think it's, we're leaving it.
You're leaving it, you're leaving.
We're leaving it.
Okay. I wasn't quite sure where that was
Worry
going.
about this. This is how
Okay.
we communicate, it's good.
So it's not changing.
Order's not changing?
The order's not changing?
I don't think, Ryan, does it need to change? I think let's go on, right, the order?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, what I'm hearing, just to make sure, is it's staying as is, you're comfortable with it, less the wordsmithing exercise, which was valuable.
We did.
It used to be important, guys.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was.
And now we don't talk
was
about it.
ever in the 5 goals.
Well,
It's a strategy right here.
It's
where
a
it says,
strategy.
No, it was a strategy.
Implement community planning, land use, and enforcement policies, encourage growth while preserving El Seguindo's quality of life and small town character, as one that we're gonna vote on, but we never had it in the top 5.
It's a
The vision statement, there you go. What does it say? Please.
Global innovation leader where big ideas take off while
I don't have it in
maintaining
front
our
of me.
unique small town character.
There you go.
Yeah, I knew it was somewhere at the top of
Okay,
the
awesome.
page. There we
So,
go.
but if it's in our mission statement, shouldn't it be a goal?
Well, I think the goals are under the vision.
yeah, but we can get to it when we talk
Okay.
strategies. There's things we can do that we haven't been doing.
All right.
Okay. So the goals are good. And unless I hear differently, we're going to go to the strategies.
One quick thing. Reflecting on Ryan's point, I believe that we did spend a lot of time on the order because we wanted to make sure that the staff, and we've come a long way here, is focused on customer service. Because for far too long, before a lot of you department heads were here, because I think everyone is different than when I came on council, it was reasons why you can't do something, particularly in planning, Michael. It was like, you can't do this because of this, instead of, here's a path forward. Here's how to get to yes, as opposed to no, 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 no. So we're doing a better job. We're still not there yet, from personal experience and other anecdotes, but we're so much better than we were. So I think that is why we had that one, number 1.
Well, then that goes to my point of let's move it down, right? If we're looking at infrastructure and we got this new system that's gonna come online, that's gonna integrate everything, that's all we should be focused on. Quality infrastructure and technology should be the number 1 for at least in the short term, right? We're still gonna give customer service. I would move 4 up to the top. Just so that it's a visual symbol of like what's the most
Lance,
important
Chris, you
thing.
good with that?
You got a consensus?
There's other hills to die on.
All right.
4 is now 1.
This rate will be up by
1
4.
is someplace.
I
Okay.
would put 1 to 3 or something.
1 is 3. So 4 is 1, 1 is 3. Going, with your permission, Mayor, to strategies. Okay. Okay.
Fortunately, we approved the new copiers to reprint all the.
That's why we didn't do it first time.
That's why we held off on the copiers,
yeah,
because
yeah.
we knew we were gonna have to regenerate all this paper.
That is so funny.
Davis is Sweeney and Sweeney is Davis.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, strategies. We're good with the goals, strategies. You have them in front of you. Let's look at goals number 1, and I believe you have them in front of you. Page 3. So, goal 1, strategy A, enhance proactive community engagement program to educate and inform the public about city services, programs, and issues. And strategy B, promote diversity, equity, and inclusion in the community and within the organization. Are you good with those 2 strategies, or is there an additional one under goal 1?
I think we need to add enhance age and place opportunities for seniors.
So we do have that as part of DEI, so being inclusive of seniors in our programs and services. So that was
Inclusive
one of the
of seniors.
consolidations, but that's still an action item.
Okay.
I just think it's something it should be not buried. We need to pay attention to our senior community. It's growing. We need to expand services to them. We need to provide opportunities for age and place. I know it's something that the COG is really focused on. I just think we need to align with them, and it needs to be called out a little bit more.
Okay.
We've had age-friendly certification 3 years ago, but we stalled that a bit, right?
So previously we had adopt and implement livability action plan, obtain the age-friendly city designation from AARP. That is an action item that we moved underneath.
So we're still pursuing
inclusion.
that, Barbara?
It's on hold.
Okay.
It's not being
Because of
pursued actively at the
just
moment.
Resource constraint, or?
Resource
Okay.
And I would
constraints,
say
yeah.
that one of the resource and regional realities of it is most of those programs, I'll editorialize a bit, have been diverted to seniors who are also unsheltered homeless. So a lot of the silver projects, they call them, are all about finding rooms and things for that. So
Yeah.
the idea of aging in place, as we're conceiving it, of someone who's generationally in the R1 zone, the house is too big, looking at downsizing, how do they stay in the area? That has been, as a regional focus of effort, migrated heavily toward sort of the homeless issue that goes with it. So we're a bit, if we pour energy and effort into it, it would be a standalone project more so than a regional project, because the resources just aren't there at the county level or the COG level.
And my suggestion is if we add it, and it is there in some derivative, when we get to one of the exercises, you'll get to determine whether it's a priority item.
Well, on the NPS score, do we segment by age?
No.
Can we start asking, because it would be interesting to see how many seniors participate, because they're a little bit more technology diverse, and then, we could kind of get a sense of how they're feeling about things.
Yes, and we did this year, which we hadn't done in previous years. We took the survey, a printout of the survey, sorry, Jose, we did print. And we gave it to every member of the Park Place, every resident, and got
Yeah.
feedback from them there.
Awesome.
And we had some drop-offs at Jocelyn Center as well. But we didn't have a specific question for seniors.
Because to Carol's point, the seniors are so much more dependent on our services with transitioning from Dial-A-Ride to Lyft and all the different things that we do through Jocelyn Center. I think that it would be really good to
I think-
figure out if people are willing to give their age, during that.
I think that that's a good example of equity, because I see equity as meeting people where they are and providing
Yeah.
needs for the various different people. Equality is everything's the same for everyone.
Right.
But if you're a senior, you have different needs. So to be equitable to seniors, you would provide different services to them. And I
That's a
think the
great
You Are
point.
Not Alone program is also an example of an equity-based initiative.
I think we have to look at wordsmithing or redefining that one, because I think in light of circumstances that have evolved over the past couple of years, especially recently, I think when we talk about DEI, it has kind of one connotation, and the truth is it doesn't take into consideration seniors. It doesn't take into consideration all of it, from religion to cultural, whatever it is, and I think we have to look at it, because there has been some deafening silences on some of the things that have happened over the past year or so from the same groups that were extraordinarily vociferous in the first couple of years of all this. So I think we as a city kind of have to, if we're going to do this, let's look at actually doing it and wordsmithing it the right way to include everything, not just the DEI connotation. What does that look like now? I'm not saying to take away what we're doing, but it needs to encompass a little bit more than it currently is. My opinion.
I like what Barbara said, something along the line of understanding all of our constituents' needs, recognizing that people are different, and then meeting them where they are, something along those lines.
Yeah. I agree. I think the term DEI has a very specific connotation, and I agree. I think it's more about equity across the line. How do we take care of our seniors versus our people with special needs, or single adults living alone
Youth.
versus families, youth, yeah. So there might be a way to better capture that.
I would say two things. One, when we get to the task part of the seniors, I think that tasking, I would recommend if we're going to make a slight pivot in it, so it's not dependent on a regional effort, just so staff understands that this is something that in the near term, we're going to have to do our own legwork on. So if there's a designation that we're trying to achieve, or a survey of results at Jocelyn, or whatever the case may be, that's something that we're going to have to put our own staff time to develop a local solution or a local strategy for, because there's just not effort there regionally. And then secondly, with strategy B on DEI, if we're going to have an explanatory note that says we're looking across our entire population, I think that it is worth keeping the nomenclature, the DEI nomenclature, attached to that statement, lest people be distracted by that fact that is missing.
Right.
And that change the focus of effort. Like, look, DEI, and here is how the city views DEI in these expansive terms to include communities across the spectrum of socioeconomic, age, race, ability level, whatnot. But I think we risk, if we remove an acronym, suddenly the conversation changes markedly in a way we would not intend.
So why don't we just put, like you said, an expansion to it, saying, in DEI, including seniors, you guys can work on the wordsmith.
statement. So can we add a descriptor to that, Henry?
So
Keep the strategy the same, but
Keep
add.
the strategy, but add a
Yeah, I think we
descriptor.
would add to the existing one to include seniors, would be my suggestion. if I
Not just
heard-
seniors, but it's got to be, Ally knows, it's the special needs, it's
Okay.
the
So it has to have a broader-
socioeconomic,
Different household
Yes.
types that we serve.
Yeah.
I think we can work
underserved,
on
Add to
whatever words you
DEI,
want to use.
Including services for seniors
The
and other.
age-friendly designation, are we going to kill that so staff knows that that's not something to focus on because there aren't resources available, and focus on different programs? What are we going to do there?
Yeah, I think we
Is this a
should.
specific program?
Yes.
It was-
It's very.
Age-friendly designation is an AARP program, but it's.
Oh, you gotta check a bunch of
You-
boxes.
And
a
Boxes
lot of
hanging
paperwork.
in the window.
And it's generally designed
Some of
around
it's
larger
the
full.
substance of what we're doing,
That's
not
right.
the accolades of what we get.
Right.
Well, but there is an attribute to it that because AARP effectively becomes your modus of communication, because seniors will often, well, some seniors, but they're polling, will look at the resources AARP provides, and then AARP will say, oh, you can get this from here's what your city offers for this. So there's a logic to having that conduit to it, but most of that is, I shouldn't say most of it, a significant amount of the resources that you tick to hit the boxes are regional in scope. So for us, if we're going to move off of that, we'll say, look, here are the 75 things we want to do, and if they coincide with age-friendly, then we can approach that designation. But we want the meat instead
Right.
of the
Well,
signage.
we
yeah.
need to look at our own, like, the diet, like the transportation, the food delivery, how they're receiving the information, to make sure we understand how they're getting their information. Are they reading the Herald? Are they using Facebook? Whatever they're using, we need to understand, and then make sure we're communicating that way.
It's helpful to remove that specific certification, because I think it sort of limits us.
Yeah. Okay, so do we want to remove it then?
So
Still focus on the
If I go on the
services.
website right now, is there a link that says senior services, where it's like delivering meals?
It's probably under rec and it might be a little harder to find than we
I'm
want
just
it
saying,
to be.
there's things we can do
Yeah.
as a city to push that forward if
We
we want
can
to
do
make that a
that.
priority. So I agree, let's not worry about the certification.
Certification.
Let's focus on the resources we
Yeah.
have and how we communicating that to the Jocelyn
Yes.
Center, to Park Vista, and just make it blatantly obvious to everybody who wants that.
And I think we can do that. Yes.
Boom, right there, that's tattoo.
Okay.
Substance.
So Barbara, we have added it to DEI, this conversation.
Okay, let's get
Okay.
to homelessness.
Any other thoughts under goal 1 before we go to goal 2? Okay.
Yeah, I got one. It's something along the lines of be less risk averse, fail faster. I read a great book that Supervisor Mitchell gave to me recently called Recoding America. I mentioned it to you, Jose. It's an incredible book. This woman was an advisor to President Obama. She went in and saved Obamacare when the system failed, the website and everything else. And she just talks about how government is so risk averse and how they get in their own way on so many occasions. Some of it is that we're building requirements to check boxes to meet every line item of a law. Like Obamacare, for example, had 5,000 pages in it. And so the system was built as an example to meet all these requirements, but guess what? It did not serve the end user at all. And it failed. And we do that at the local level, the regional level, the state level, and especially the federal level, where they pay Oracle $60 million a year just to continually configure software. I mean, it's a joke. So what can we do at the local level to adopt technology? That's why, Chief, I introduced you to, and thank you for taking the meeting with the venture-funded company that's working on improving transcription, so your officers spend less time actually writing reports, for example. Or another one that we looked at, I'm trying to think of, Kaizen, the company that's looking at Rexon Park experience from a user's experience, changing everything. So why not be a little bit more tolerant of risk? What do we really have to lose? I think we're so concerned about failing that we're not taking on these risks in the technology. So what do our constituents want? I think if we asked them about Rec 1, no offense, I think that was picked before you were here, they wouldn't be big fans. If you asked them to go to our website, which we thought was the best website we could get at the time, that is not a good user interface. So what can we do differently to adopt technology, to continue to innovate, to ultimately meet our constituents' needs and expectations? Because right now, in a lot of ways, I don't think we are. We keep talking about fix-it. I don't like using fix-it. It's too clunky. It's good, don't get me wrong. It serves our purpose. But there's probably better things out there, like the email parse. The reason people email us is because they don't want to have to go to fix it. They just want to email a council member and get something done. So we have to meet our constituents where they are. And communications have been doing a much better job in the last 5 years doing that, finding them in all these different channels that continue to expand, Instagram, Threads, you name it. But we need to do a better job, I think, at being willing to fail a little bit. So I think it's a customer service goal, or it's under technology, I'm not sure, but the whole idea is like, Michael, your idea recently about zoning flexibility, maker space or some other designation that gives entrepreneurs the ability to move into a space as opposed to, no, this is not manufacturing, you cannot move in there, but thinking like that.
So a question would be, that's a great suggestion. Where would you like it, under which goal? Would it be goal 4?
Well, first I got to make sure that we have consensus with my council members.
I think what you're trying to say, Drew, is, when something comes in, a suggestion or a complaint or an opportunity comes in, and it hits at a level, like at lower staff level, like an analyst level, they don't have the empowerment to make those types of decisions that could be risk. So I think what we need to do is develop a culture in our organization where they know to punt it up and not get upset that, punt it up and let the management who sees things at a broader picture, so that, I'm going to give example, and so when we were talking about the, having Chevron use the fields. It's an example. They wanted to use the field on a Saturday in October to host a LFC event. And when it went to the analysts, they're like, sorry, it's booked for AOSO. And they should have had the culture should have been developed, that they should have punted up to say, hey, Allie, this came in, do you want to reevaluate it? Because we can come up with a solution. And unfortunately, they said no, and then they had to come through council. I get the call, and then I have to go down this way, and it should have just the culture should have been able to punt it upward so that there could be broader decisions and made, and that's just a simple example where solution, and we got, everybody's happy, we got resolved, you know, we're gonna move the AYSO to Chevron Park, and they're gonna have the space for that Saturday. So but it's a culture that needs to change, where it's not just a no, and that they know to go up and understand that it's not a bad thing that happens.
I'd say yes, it's getting to yes before just immediately going to no, but it's also, when you're not being asked questions from the constituents too, what are you doing to reinvent something?
Right.
If you learn about something in private sector, you're like, this is really interesting technology, AI, for example. I went to the General Assembly for the COG, it was incredible. Ted Lieu spoke, a lot of people on AI. We haven't even begun to embrace AI, but it's happening all around us in private sector, all around us. And so what are we doing to embrace AI as an organization? We're just gonna wait, or are we gonna do something now? So it's having a mindset of, look, let's actually take a little bit of a leap. A little risk is okay.
On the technology side.
Just on anything.
Way of thinking, just
Oh,
way of
way of
thinking.
thinking.
Technology
Way
is
of
one way to
thinking.
enable.
It's
It
a-
could be
it's
a whole different model. Someone says, look, I have an idea from Santa Monica, here's how I think we should do homeless. It's completely different than what you all are used to. Give me a year to try it out. Well, what do we have to lose? A little bit of money and resources, let's try it out. But it's a different mindset. It's a mindset of being willing to fail a bit.
Carol's piece is, I think, a bit of a part of goal 3, because it's workforce development and sort of a way we do things culturally. I think with, and Mr. Mayor, it's something similar but a little bit different. And mine was lumped in 5. And it's the concept of the kind of vacuum we have by having an economic development company, right? That's different, right? They are empowered to operate because they're a standalone economic development company. But we have a gap in advisory, and sort of the special projects blob that EDAC used to do. So call it by whichever name we want. I think there is a vacuum here for a group that both provides us with up-to-the-minute information about what the market is doing, because these guys have commercial realty and they do all these sorts of pieces, and they feel the market at the moment. But also on the technology piece, they are filtering in all of these things from the private sector. So I think, you know, I had it labeled in 5, but a sort of idea that in terms of one of the tasks underneath the goals would be having an advisory body of some sort that can pilot, inform, advise, and at least has a liaison, whether it's at the city manager or deputy city manager level or the technology level, has a liaison to say, hey, have you tried out this technology around parks? You know, we'd like to ask for $15,000 to buy a pilot license and try it out. Something on that end. So I don't want to skip ahead to, but I think that we probably share a little bit of a concept here of something that we don't want to staff up for. We don't want to commit to hundreds of thousands of dollars of technology licenses or lawyers, but just someone out there that can help us with these sorts of things. Sorry about that.
How about
I think
Chris, to
Lance
that
has
point,
one.
because I think it comes through in 2 or 3 different places, if not more. Maybe it is part of a goal to say that, or a vision statement, probably a goal. Like, it's a different mindset of being not afraid to take some risks, I think is the difference, because we're all, as government people, we're conditioned to be risk averse. Lance, you were saying something?
I think to kind of, I don't want to say land the plane, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to land it. I think what we're trying to say is El Segundo, like most cities that are 100+ years old, are mired in the, well, we've been doing it this way and we're gonna keep doing it even if it's wildly inefficient. So I think maybe it comes, because there's gonna be a way, how do we implement it, is that I think it's a matter of looking at every single, and we do it right now. What are we doing? What have we done historically? Why do we continue to keep doing it?
Yeah.
If we know it doesn't work, don't keep doing it just because, well, we've done it for 50 years. So to me, it seems that what you're saying can be put into pretty much every department and every system that we have. I know with Chief coming in, talking about, you know, we're going to get into it, you know, homeless strategies, e-bike strategies, things like that. You know, we've handled it one way for a while, it's not working, so let's try another way. So maybe that's maybe a better way to implement that piece, because it, again, you have to measure it somehow.
Yeah.
How about we change number 1, now number 3, to solution-oriented customer service, right? Solution-oriented customer service, not just enhancement, but you, staff member, whatever your role is, You're there to solve a problem for someone who has a problem, whether it's police, fire, parks and rec.
It's a solution. I like that.
Solution-oriented
we're
customer
dropping
service.
enhance and putting solution-oriented.
And another one is like value. So if you think about a risk orientation, that's really a value too. So we have values. We have service, ethics, and collaboration. Service says we work to provide exceptional services and continuously improve our practices and processes, and we're not afraid to take risks. We're not afraid to take calculated risks
Or challenge the status quo.
or challenge the status quo. Just something to say like we're going to continue to innovate, to send the message, because this is really about you and department heads empowering your employees to feel comfortable taking a risk, not somebody does something, you're like, why'd you do that? You got us in trouble. Joaquin, you should probably leave for this conversation. Good thing Mark's not here.
Calculated risk, calculated risk.
Calculated risk, yes.
So let me come back, because we went through all 5 goals into outer space and into the county, and we came back. Great conversation. I want to make sure it's back up on the screen. So we're changing the word enhance.
I like Councilmember Baldino's
So-
solutions.
Solution-oriented is what I heard.
And with the 11th pick,
Customer service.
That's what I hear.
Diversity, inclusion, and
Right.
what's the other one? Equity and inclusion for all community members.
Okay.
And communications for all
Can we,
community members.
can we be a little bit less
For
passive
both?
and say, get to solutions? Or something a little bit more, you know, like solution oriented. Yeah, like get to solutions.
I think solution oriented is a
How about
it's a
promote?
descriptor. It describes the type of.
All right, fine.
Promote solution-oriented customer service.
No, they're open for it.
Promote
We
doesn't
want our
work.
people to get to solutions.
Encourage.
I think number one's the only one that doesn't start with the verb.
Right.
Yes.
You need an action word.
Then deliver.
Deliver.
Deliver. There you go.
Look at that. Bravo, bravo.
I got a whole thesaurus.
Deliver.
Translating for Pimentel all day.
Player to be named later.
I'll be back. Okay, so
Perfect.
we've shifted, we've added some more
Can I just
changes.
say, would you guys please humor me in changing one of the values to not be so nebulous? We work to provide exceptional services and continuously improve our you can leave all that, improve our practices and processes.
Wait, where is
While
this? What page? Where are we?
values, under vision, you got mission and values, page 1. Just going backwards, digressing for one moment. While embracing calculated risk, or while not being afraid of calculated risks. You guys okay? Elias says yes. Anyone else?
Wait, so it took us,
Wait,
what
wait,
page
wait.
we on? We're page.
Be doing collaboration?
You're on
Page one, line
values.
three.
Right.
Where are we?
Are you on service, ethics, or collaboration?
Values, vision, mission, and values, right here. Values, page 1, right at the bottom here.
Yeah, I have them, but which one are you talking about?
Service.
Thank you.
Service.
Okay, go ahead.
We work to provide exceptional service and continuously improve our practices and processes while embracing calculated risk-taking.
Well, is it the risk-taking or is it the delivery of results?
No, you have to take risks. That's the point, Ryan. We do not take risks in this organization. Very rarely do we take risks.
Yeah.
We have to change, it's a value set with our employees. We value risk-taking, it's okay.
Accountable and responsible.
Does that involve a
But
parking
risky.
structure? Because that was risky.
Exceptional shares.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask the clerk to read it back what you have, so we're all on the
Be
same
accountable
page.
and
wasn't
transparent
calculated, it was
about
risky.
it.
Want me to read it back?
Follow
Let, Mayor,
professional
we're gonna
standards.
reread it back. Okay,
Under values for service, we work to provide exceptional services and continuously improve our practices and processes while embracing calculated risks.
Risk-taking, calculated risk-taking.
Risk-taking.
How about measured risk-taking? Whatever, doesn't matter.
While embracing.
We're only one reading it, Lance is right.
Wait, while embracing measured risk-taking.
Risk-taking.
Measured risk-taking.
Okay,
How about being open to,
measured
Or
risk-taking.
being open.
you know, like, because,
Are you supposed to
Improve
end
our
the
practices
sentence
and
with
processes,
yeah.
and not afraid to create new rules to find solutions. right?
Yeah.
We remove the fear, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Let's just, can we
Break
stick
the
with the
mold.
word risk, Ryan? Because
Yeah,
like,
you
Yeah,
can have
yeah.
the word risk. I'm willing to
Yeah.
give you the
we are
word risk.
so risk averse as an
I
organization.
got it.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Where's
Anyone?
Mr. Hensley?
We tried parallel parking on El Segundo Boulevard.
Do we have a
you know? We built a
We
parking
tried it for
garage.
like 2 weeks. We're like, oh, this doesn't work.
Well, people were scarred from going one lane or 2 lanes on Main Street 20 years ago, right? I mean, there's still
Oh,
people
but then
like.
they did it during COVID with
All right,
no
let's-
issues whatsoever.
So,
I guess I would
Wow.
say to
Agreed.
channel Mark, I mean, as
there we go.
as stewards of public funds, you know,
Give me a-
maybe as
we're
a,
not
as a
gonna-
public leader, you know, do we get the sense that, you know, why are you taking risks
Risk.
with
No,
our public
calculated
funds?
risk.
Because what we're doing doesn't
So you're
work.
taking calculated risks.
Calculate measured risks. You did
So,
your part. Tell Mark you did your
let
part.
me
Thanks,
try to
Mark.
come back here. I enjoyed the exercise that will send you into the abyss of being here all day. But you're not wrong. But I think we've settled on some words that
This is
aren't.
important, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to underscore it, but yet they're not biblical, so don't feel like they're in stone. So, one more time, Madam Clerk, because I don't want anybody to say, we didn't know.
I'm confused, but I'll try it again. We work to provide exceptional services and continuously improve our practices and processes while embracing calculated, measured risk taking.
Calculated,
I think
moderated.
Some head nodding.
Risk.
Just calculated.
Boom.
Okay.
Joaquin likes it.
Okay.
Wait, we-
Calculated and measured sounds redundant.
Yeah, just say
It
calculated.
does.
Be extra careful.
She gets, you get the answer you want, you stop selling.
That's right. She gets paid by the
Can I,
comment.
can I not say
We're just talking ourselves out of sales right
Can I
now.
make the
Okay.
sentence a little better? We work to
to
provide
use-
exceptional service and continuously take calculated risks to improve our practices and, right?
Sure.
That flows a little better.
That works for
We
me.
continuously take calculated risks to improve our practices and processes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Text it to me.
We're gonna land this
Start charging
plane with
my hourly lower
gasoline,
the rate for
everyone.
a second.
Are you?
A lot more than
Jet
that.
fuel.
I thought like I could be.
Sorry, you get a second while you're in this room.
Tracy,
I
you're
got it,
gonna get
Tracy.
a
I
text.
got one more thing on this. No, I'll shut up after this. This is what's really important to me, as you can tell. Okay. What about rewarding people in the organization when they take a risk and they fail? Like,
How
who
do you
cares?
measure that, Drew?
No, it's subjective. Hold on, no,
That's
hear
the
me out.
point.
Hear me out. Someone in Michael's department says, we're gonna try this new pilot, and here's why. We met with businesses. Here's a new product offering we need to do. Call it the makerspace idea you're talking about. We roll it out, it doesn't work, or it does work. Either way, the only way you're going to get a value to stick in the organization is if you actually honor that and act in that way. You can't just put it in paper. It has to be something that you talk about,
That's a bonus program.
that you acknowledge, that you recognize, public recognition.
Yeah, yeah, public recognition.
So if
We talked about that a
really
lot.
are valuing taking risks, then you have to publicly recognize people for taking risks. Otherwise, it's meaningless.
I think that's goal 3, though, and how we reward people.
Yes.
Workforce
Yeah.
development. If
Yes.
someone
I
has
think we should
initiative
get
and
to
big
it there.
ideas,
Yes.
I defer to Daryl and his staff to reward someone, say, this
My
guy's got
point is,
great
if we
ideas.
just put this on paper and we leave it till the next strategic
How
planning
about,
session, it does nothing.
how about promote and celebrate a quality workforce? Like add the word
Yeah.
celebrate.
That's good.
I just want to make that one
So
point
change
about-
number 3 to say promote, so number 3, promote and celebrate.
We're putting it up there to see what it looks like here.
I'm done with page 1.
We're making
Okay,
great
now we're
progress.
halfway down page 1.
From my seat, I'm not quite sure we've
Yeah.
launched yet, but, okay, let's look at these. Reaffirm the 5 goals that have had some twists, and I think they're actually really good twists.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't go with efficiencies.
Yeah, they haven't switched one. One goes to 3,
So Zen, can you switch 4, can you switch 4 and 1?
4 goes to 1.
It says it right here, not goal 1.
What?
It is, it is.
Continuously take calculated risks to improve our practices and processes. Should be in the ethic.
I think these are
I think we
actually
may
working.
need to change
Take calculated.
when it comes back up.
We're continuously.
I think efficiencies needs to go to excellence.
I think, yeah, it's been incorporated, so we're not using that. Do we have it, Zen? Close.
Oh, okay. Take calculated risk too.
Okay, I'm going to come back.
I think we may have to change the word efficiencies to excellence, but we'll see that when it comes
Okay.
back. Because it doesn't go with celebrate.
We know that, right? We're the only ones who really are. This is what we do.
I know.
So we're just spending
I didn't
an
start
hour-
this. This was him.
We're spending an
I
hour
will blame
wordsmithing
him.
something that 10 people read.
Hey, can I just, you know what, I swear I'm gonna chill out on the rest. I know there were some
Yeah,
past,
yeah.
like, some jokes that this is not important. That what we send as a message to our employee about the values is probably the most important thing we're doing today. One little priority of 20, in my estimation, not significant. But the message we send to our employees about we're okay taking risk in this organization, that is important. So I do disagree that this was not time well spent. This is time well spent. I am not going to nitpick on the 20 priorities, I promise, but I do want to make sure we get this one right. Because this is a significant opportunity in our organization.
Can we change on number 4, the last word efficiencies to excellence? Promote and celebrate equality work through teamwork. Oh, she took it down already.
I'm good.
So Drew, to get back to your, now that I look at the service and the ethics and the collaboration, I feel like the risk should be in the ethics, because that's more of who we are. So service will be the same, Tracy. Ethics, we are accountable, responsible. We're talking about who we are as a city, for our actions, transparent our processes, and follow professional standards while taking calculated risks to provide solutions.
Love it. Anyone have a fundamental issue with that?
So that's going to be number 2, not number 1,
Works for me. Is everyone okay with? Oh,
While taking calculated risks?
to provide solutions.
yes.
Okay.
Or maybe say and, not while.
To provide. And 1 is now back to the way it was.
Yeah.
No changes. Okay.
There's a road
Is that
course
what
there.
you're seeing, Madam Clerk?
Yeah, we're doing something different, yeah.
He's on values.
She's on values, okay.
He's on
Back on page
values.
1.
Okay.
That's what she's working on.
So Mayor and Council, I think it was a good conversation about
Actions transparent and
doing some
processes
changes
follow.
here for impact. Are you comfortable?
I am.
I am.
Yep.
Lance? Chris?
I'm ready.
Okay.
All right. That was really kind of an interesting exercise, how it just
you
morphed
should
into
see
some other
closer.
things.
You know, but
Okay.
And
Go-
I'm going to agree with Drew. Words do matter, and because it frames the mindset.
It frames it. It does frame it. So, strategies. We had strategy A and B under goal 1. And we've talked about including seniors and other groups to strategy B. And we don't have the right words. We'll have Barbara and the team come up with them. Are we good with strategies, the 2 strategies under goal 1?
Can we move the papers with the way the goals are now so that we are on them in order?
There you go.
Thank you.
Oh, that's a great catch. Yeah, yeah.
There you go.
Love to see it. See words matter.
Good job.
It was fine.
So, okay, we're gonna do it this way.
Oh.
So goal 1 is good. Goal 2, here are the 6 strategies. If you take a look at them, you have them in front of you. But strategy A, comprehensively address the unsheltered homeless population. B, providing cost-effective and excellent fire protection and emergency response services. Hold large-scale operations with or in close proximity to the city accountable for environmental violations, etc. D, prepare the El Segundo community and staff for any natural or man-made disasters. increase community awareness for emergency preparedness, and ensure the community feels safe and is satisfied with the services of the El Segundo Police Department. Mayor and council, how do we feel about these 6 strategies?
I think, aren't C, D, and E kind of the same?
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing.
They're like,
Yeah.
safety, community aware, preparedness.
And then, I was gonna, can we tackle the homeless one, the first one? So
Okay.
for me, this is a very broad statement, comprehensively address. I mean, one of the things is, we have to do what we can do. And one of the things I've always said is, how do we ensure that every department is educated on how their department can best service the homeless? So do we have a map, like a strategic map of, okay, for the police department, you know, the goal is to have every police officer trained on how to, manage homeless. For the fire department, and I know you guys are now commingling ride-alongs, but what is their services? For Parks and Recs, what is their services? For building, like every group should have a comprehensive understanding of how they impact or make the homeless, work with the homeless. And that should be a comprehensive plan, so we can have that prepared, so we can see how we're touching the homeless from every department's perspective.
Okay?
Is homelessness a city issue that can be addressed with city resources? Or is this an issue that we need to be talking to our county representatives who have millions of dollars? And before we start thinking of plans of what we're gonna do as a city, we don't have homeless shelters. We are not equipped to deal with this problem. And I'm happy that our new chief is from Santa Monica. We've dealt with this before. And so I want to make sure in this room, like, we are clear about what we can do as a city, what services we can offer. And when we know the county is failing, then what can we do as elected representatives? Start knocking on doors, just like we do with Hyperion and everything else. All these negative things that affect our city that aren't caused by what happens in this city, but from outside the city, then maybe we need to focus on what are we doing to make sure that we've got county services more than once a week for a ride-along. If we need to increase our homeless outreach, can we get it twice a week? If not, why not? Right? I want to ask broader questions about this issue because I don't think our city has the budget, the facilities, or the resources to really tackle homelessness. I think it's a broad issue, and there's a lot of programs out there that should be picking up the slack.
I think you're talking about the actionable kinds of things, like what should we be doing?
I want to maintain a conversation based in reality.
So if I can weigh in on that, I think that I think the strategy is fine, to comprehensively address the tasks underneath is, and I don't want to, well, maybe I will derail us briefly because I just had another giant cup of coffee. But the task piece is at the county and regional level, our population is so small that the conversations they have are entirely different. And I sit in these homeless meetings and they are dealing at a scale that with our finite population, that I think that when we get to the task part about how we allocate specific tasks to address, the 24 sort of frequent people we encounter, there's tasks that we can approach that I think will be more acute and felt by our population more quickly than if we try and wait for the county to come in. We are the fly speck of what their programs address. So I will uncaffeinate over.
If I may, real quick, I know it keeps coming up frequently about the homeless issue. You're right, it does require both city and county partners working together. But for the interim, what we're trying to do is create a citywide approach to the problem where it's just not the police department and our fire department. I was glad to hear when I came on that Fire Chief Avery is more than willing to assist in this endeavor. So that involved not only police, fire, public works, code, parks.
But we need to understand what each department
Correct.
play.
And that's what we're
have a
looking-
clear, comprehensive
Correct.
understanding so that we have an organizational plan.
Right, and that's what we're trying to develop here, that we're gonna present here in the next couple of weeks, of a more citywide approach. That way we can, first of all, begin to track how many we have in our city. The numbers I've seen are about 20, 29 roughly. Who are those individuals? They should be contacted daily, not only just by the police department, but fire department, by Parks and Recs, whoever's there. There's no tracking mechanism. We need to establish that. That's important. Working with our DMH counterparts, that way they come on board and we know we can reach to them at any point of the day to come out and help us evaluate somebody and eventually put them into housing. That takes time. Now knowing, I'm not sure if our Mr. City Attorney here can give us an update on this, but we got the grant passed potentially, Supreme Court legislation that's coming. That may change how we approach homelessness altogether, where it can be more enforcement centric, but that's not, we got to talk as a city, is that something we want to do? Because that changes the landscape of homelessness all around.
Lance had something.
Yeah, I think around this, because when you read it, the way it's written, that's not a strategy, that's a goal, right? So really what we're doing is we're saying that, because it basically, it says comprehensively address the unsheltered homeless population. That's not actually a strategy. So I think what we're trying to get to is a solution-based. Solution-based, I wanted to read solution-based as it pertains to what is possible within the city of El Segundo and as it pertains to us. We're not solving it for the county, the state, or the country. How do we address it here? And that's where I think you come in with, I'm sure you have a few ideas.
So I think if we all agree that we want to do this, and that's kind of why we wanted to go through the definitions, semantics. I mean, people think of strategies different, goals different. But for this, how we do the strategy is the action items and the projects. So we're saying we want to address homelessness. We haven't agreed on how. What actions are we going to take? That will be what we as an executive team come back with once we have established these strategies. Council has given us direction that we want to address homelessness. Chief will say what he thinks. Fire chief will say, when we'll all get together and we'll say exactly what we want to do. And then Councilmember Baldino has mentioned advocacy at the county level on behalf of the city. So all of those things can be addressed in the action items.
And we do have a measured outcome, which is we want to increase the number of interactions that we have with the homeless people and measure those, to your point.
And maybe it's like develop a comprehensive plan to address the unsheltered homeless population that complements the county and state initiatives. So it's like, it's not replacing, it's a complement to other things that are going on in the county. And then we understand what's going on in the county, because there could be county money, state money that we don't know that we should be taking. So we need to do it for the city, as Lance mentioned, but understand what's going on at the county and state level so that we can be it's the additive component, right?
Sarah, what if we keep it vague as it is now, and then let staff come back with the action plans? Because I think that'll come later, right, Barbara?
Yes.
I think they will come. Mayor and Council, just a step back. The dialogue, by the way, is fantastic, because it has to happen. But for the purposes of this exercise, we're affirming the existing strategies. And when we get into the DOT exercise, that's going to be your priorities. And then we're going to have a card exercise about that one actionable item you want to see. That one actionable item. And then the staff will massage that in the report that comes back to you. So with your permission, Mayor, any differentiation, are these 6 still
I think we talked about combining C, D, and E, right? So just kind of clean that up.
C, D, and E, we can clean that up.
So there should be 4 in there instead of the current 6, basically what we're looking at, right?
While that gets consolidated or revised, I just wanted to jump on a note that the chief made about Grants Pass. It's a case, the Supreme Court's already heard oral arguments. It's a case out of Oregon, which tears off a precedent established in Boise, which involves the whole Ninth Circuit. And there are folks on both sides of the aisle wanting clarity from the Supreme Court to define when it comes practically to what a small or a big city can do to address homeless and homeless encampments. And so the current precedent is that you can't break up an encampment unless you have shelter beds for these folks. And so this will hopefully address the question of what if you have beds for folks that don't want those beds, and sort of that, there's a ton of gray areas. So we will get clarity, but I think, even as a small city, these are tools that we want to have clarity on to know what we actually can legally do. What tools do we have, in our...
And including criminal infractions, right?
The ability to...
Right, to cite and, exactly, yeah. So we'll hopefully get clarity on that soon from the Supreme Court, but...
Not criminal, though, civil infraction. Because that's one of the key pieces, right? You
Well, the
can't,
questions
does the
are-
Eighth Amendment apply to civil infractions, right? That's the question for the case. But I defer.
Right, I mean, it's basically criminalizing the condition of homelessness, essentially.
Criminalize it.
That's what I read
Can
in The
you- can-
Economist, yeah.
Can you cite as a misdemeanor or a felony?
Criminalize me camping out in public. That's the kind of.
And that's where the
Right.
oral arguments are going, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you can't criminalize them for being an addict, but you can criminalize them for
Yes.
possessing drugs.
Exactly.
Chief?
So I've seen in, the jurisdictions I've always worked for always has number 2, sort of status quo, support community safety and preparedness. And for me, it just gleaned of status quo. We're supporting it. So I would like to change that operative word to optimize or seeking excellence or something to that effect that makes it more active. Because support feels like something passive.
So where are you at here, Chief?
Number 2.
He's gone back to the goals.
Back to the 5 goals. With your permission.
No, but I agree with it.
It's
I
coming
agree.
off.
I agree. Yeah.
It's coming off.
The word excellence is
We're
important.
going to support that. Chief, that's a great idea.
Yeah. Okay,
What's the word we're using
So what are we doing?
Optimize.
Go back to optimization.
Then to your point,
And
Mayor,
excellence.
about finding the most
Optimize the
efficient
excellence.
delivery
Problem-solving,
model
risk-taking solution.
with excellence.
Okay. Okay. So we've combined the items that you suggested, C, was it C, D, and E? And so are you good with these particular items now that we have as strategies?
so the only thing is increase community awareness for emergency preparedness. I think it should be for preparedness and services, because it's not just being prepared, it's what services are available to you. So it's not just about being prepared, it's like, let people know what is available to them.
How about we just have staff take those, because we're gonna merge all those, Carol, what if they just,
Take it in wordsmith.
Yeah,
yeah, just,
okay,
you know.
It would be here, though.
yeah.
It's
Make
okay.
it more succinct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
I agree.
So that one was about
Yeah,
cert training.
number of cert people.
So she
Yeah.
wanted,
Yeah.
I understand the
We'll
preparedness,
combo
but
it.
we just
I'm
need
also
to,
comboing it.
we also need to,
Yeah, okay.
awareness for
Are we-
emergency preparedness and
we're good.
services down here. Bear with me for just a moment here,
Now we're down to 18.
and services.
Good job.
10 strategies.
Okay, goal 2. Goal 1, and by the way, you're gonna see him again with the dot exercise, so anytime you're not just let me know as we're moving
so I
through
do,
it.
I'm just gonna add one thing, just on optimized community, because it's safety and preparedness.
Rhonda,
I mean,
leave that
safety
there.
also encompasses planning and building, right? Like, so, do we have anything that says, making sure people, like educating people on what permits they need to pull, what codes have been changed? Do we do an outreach on, these are changed, because like earthquake, like not only earthquake preparedness for like having your go-to bag, but is your house prepared? Like, how do we, from a building and safety perspective, do we need to add a component there that talks about code enforcement, all that kind of stuff?
That's a strategy.
Yeah.
They would fall under.
Okay,
that.
I just,
No
but
one-
we
no one
talk
disagrees
about
with that, but
police
it
and
falls
fire,
under-
but we don't talk about building in I just want to make sure that we're
You're encompassing it.
Because I just don't think people know when do they need to pull a permit, when they don't need to pull a permit.
Yeah, okay.
They know.
Okay,
They always know.
okay. Goal 2 is gone. We're
They
gonna-
pretend not to know.
They take calculated risk.
Calculated risk.
Good job.
Okay. We're gonna go to goal 3. That is the new title right here.
No, we want goal, the old
Okay, strategy A.
goal. Yeah, we want the old goal. It's now number 1, remember?
No, 3 is
No, they
now
changed it.
Number 3.
4.
No, it's number 3.
It's quality workforce.
Yeah.
We already did that one.
We haven't done the infrastructure technology
That was number 1, and we said there were no changes.
Right, so that's why.
Right.
Is that correct?
We already did that
But
one.
We
what
did.
else, is that correct?
That, Yeah.
Whatever she wrote on there in the bottom on strategy B.
To include seniors and other groups.
Seniors and other groups, right.
It's the old goal number 3.
Yeah.
We're working on.
It's the old goal number 1.
We're doing the old goal number 3, so the one that now says 4.
Yes.
The one that says the original, that one, yeah, that is.
Okay. Creativity can be messy.
Right.
Okay. 4, promote quality workforce through teamwork and organizational, well, ours is promote and celebrate quality workforce through teamwork and organizational excellence. How do we feel about these 3 strategies?
Is it the monitor, keep perform, okay, so we're on our strategy sheet here, it's still number
Yes.
3, right? Okay, here we go.
4 underscore.
I'm good with those 3.
Me too. Anyone else have a problem? Anyone have a problem with those 3? Good to go.
You're good to go.
Yeah, no one's.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then,
Can we just change that word from efficiency to excellence, improve, on number 3, the C? Improve organizational excellence by implementing process and tools to facilitate. Efficiency is such a,
what was your word, Carol?
it should be excellence, not efficiency.
Improve organizational excellence. Any disagreement with that?
It is important, but to be excellent, you have to be efficient.
It's 3.
You know
It
what I
will
mean?
be excellence.
Now we're cooking.
Yeah, and then I'm going to come back because the aura of confusion is in the air. And so we'll come back as I see it, unless I'm not
We
seeing.
only got 2 left, right?
Yeah, we're good, so.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
number
we're-
5 is going to be a doozy.
Yeah.
Because I got some.
We're actually on
I'm gonna
5
plant,
right
I'm
now.
planting a big seed there.
I don't want to put a huge speed bump on 3.
What?
Rebecca, are we answering the mail on 3 with these? Because you
We
own
just
all,
finished
half of these
4, so you have to
HR
go to
monitoring
5,
and
which is champion
the
economic
old
development.
3, new 4.
The promote and celebrate the, yes,
Enhanced staff recruitment,
We're close,
retention.
Mayor.
We
This is
have,
the last one.
we run 20% vacant all the time. Like, are there
we're at, 12 and 13%.
12 to 13% vacant,
rate right now.
which we
That one
budget
actually
for?
didn't change.
Budget 5.
We budget 5.
I do see with the change in the, I don't know, Mark or my personal strategies, these changes. I do see customer service training in our future getting to yes. And also
I
with
think
the
we're-
calculated risk-taking, I think that.
She's got the wrong one up.
Employees need a definition because I might think certain things are okay to be risky and someone else would never do it. So I think we need to come to a definition of what is calculated risk-taking and what would be
I
within
think Chris's
the.
point is that given the gap between what the goal is and where we are as an organization from the staffing, is there enough meat on the bone here with this one? And the way the word, the 3 strategies.
Well, I think, as you said, when we first started, doing more with less, I think that, the efficiency portion there, and you said
That's
government, sometimes we're not the most efficient. But I think that government employees, maybe sometimes, you need the technology, but you don't really know that you're not efficient because this is all you do know. So having some education and training on that.
And then, Chris, we'll have a metric of fill time, which once you understand how long it takes us to fill, then you'll be able to identify where the problems are, where the bottleneck is in that process.
Right.
I mean, sometimes we get frustrated at lack of, what we perceive to be lack of efficiency, but it's really just lack of capacity. If you're running at double-digit your budget vacancy rate, and so many of our things come down oftentimes to vacancies, whether it's, we're talking overtimes, or we're talking about who's doing this, or do we have enough people on streets or roads or lifeguards or whatnot. And this part, I just feel when we're kind of cruising through, because, we want to enhance staffing. Well, we enhance staffing every year, and it does not get enhanced. Are there different tasks that we need to talk to underneath that we as a council should be sort of green lighting?
Well, another action item besides the time to fill that I think is critical is the turnover rate. And the ability to track that. That's a manual process, but when we implement Tyler Munis with the ERP, there's a turnover report in there. Because I think that's important too, because that affects a lot of the work that we do.
that address your?
So
comment?
yeah, just when we get to the when the staff gets to make a recommendation under 3B, let's not let it get lost in the fact that it's in the middle of a pile and somewhat unsexy, right? Let's make sure that that's something that could be one of those key tumblers that has to fall on our project here.
Huge,
Are we
Does someone
comfortable?
have note of that? Chris's point? So we don't lose that? His point is that staffing is a major issue for us, given our vacancy rate, and we need to make sure it's like, as an action item, not necessarily around it there, but
Right.
as a follow-on action item, that we have to do something fundamentally different to improve our vacancies too, yeah.
Rebecca will enter that when we do our action
Okay.
items for that particular
Okay.
strategy.
Great, I guess they got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Are we comfortable with this? So we changed one word. We're catching up on the reshuffling is what's happened here.
That's great.
Old goal number 4.
We just did 4.
No, that was goal number 3. Now we're doing old goal number 4.
Quality infrastructure? Quality infrastructure?
Okay,
It's
so
what, not that one, yeah.
we're old goal number 4.
The new number 1.
Okay, so
Correct.
I got a change for the first line. Instead of implement the projects, I would like to say seek opportunities to expedite the projects. So seek opportunities to expedite.
Oh, hang on for a second.
Because implement just means, this is a goal, like we need to expedite, like seek opportunities to expedite.
Implement the projects.
When you're talking about public works, it's like a naturally cumbersome and
I understand.
transparent public bid process, community meetings, like you want to get community input. And when you say expedite, I feel like that word doesn't belong in public works construction because it is naturally a slow moving beast. And the best we can do is just kind of keep the train on the tracks as best as possible.
Okay.
When she's driving it, I think you're, I don't put words in your mouth because I know we talk about this, and you've seen it on the school district side, is that once the shovel hits the ground, those projects have moved very efficiently.
Yes.
So I think what we're looking for here is something that's, once the dirt starts flying, to make sure that we are advocating, an efficient, if not expeditious.
And also the money.
Yeah,
Why haven't
the
we
money.
started the plunge?
Right.
'Cause we've been reticent about spending the money or haven't had the money. So if you're looking for the buckets of capital in advance through bonds or some other measure,
Right,
then
like
you're
seek
more likely to get
opportunities.
going. Yeah.
Is what I'm trying to say.
I see both your points there, actually.
Yeah, if you want verbiage to make it more urgent, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would it be? Implement and?
Or just seek, the goal should be seek out opportunities to facilitate the capital improvement, I don't know, if you want to take the word expedite out there.
Expeditiously implement.
Yeah.
Well, let's hear what Elias has to say.
Yeah.
So, there is a practical way to expedite the CIP projects, and some cities do that. And the way it's normally done on key projects that are time-sensitive, the cities are providing incentives to the contractors for each day that they finish the project prior to set date. And if the city is willing to pay that, the results are there. Because some cities do that, and I used to do that in my previous life.
Like a bonus for completing
And
on time.
correct, and
Kind
you
of like the
give.
105 freeway.
Yeah, you give so much money, and you calculate that based on different factors. There's a formula that each day that the contractor finishes the project before that set goal, then they get so much, $10,000, $5,000 per day, and it is a practical way of doing that.
Well, that's the seek opportunity, like look for
I like that.
opportunities to expedite.
And we can do that. We
Yeah.
can implement that if this is the desire of the city council.
That's an example of risk-taking.
Yes.
Love it.
Exactly. So are we okay to change that language? So seek opportunities to expedite the
Seek
implementation.
opportunity.
How about he put implement and expedite? Does that work for you?
I think we need to seek opportunities. We need to be looking for ways to think outside the box.
Seek opportunities to implement and expedite.
Mhm.
Seek
I think everyone's good with it,
opportunities
yeah.
to
That's good.
implement and expedite.
Just add to the beginning of
Seek
that.
opportunities to implement and expedite.
And then on the number B, implement the use of technologies, we should be seeking out new technologies. Like, are we, these are goals, so we should be looking out, not just implementing, we need to be out looking for solutions.
Like
So
seek the best,
seek the solution, yeah, like,
seek the best for our users' needs kind of
Yeah.
thing, instead of just implementing Tyler because everybody uses Tyler.
Exactly.
No
So it
offense.
would be, yeah,
For- yeah.
seek and implement.
I just like the
Okay.
word seek.
Okay, okay, we're adding it, we're adding it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, put the word innovate in there.
Implement the use of technology to innovate on city services efficiencies, so to introduce.
To implement and innovate.
I just want to make sure we're always looking outward,
Yeah, yeah,
because we have a tendency to only look inward.
okay, I think we've got it here. Okay. Yep, we've got it. Okay, any other thoughts there?
Is anyone in love with strategy C of a comprehensive update to a general plan? Because I think that we've, in practice, abandoned a comprehensive update to a general plan in
Yeah.
favor of our traditional patchwork of micro plans. Just because a comprehensive plan, the only comprehensive plan we'd come up with is one that allows us to have flexibility to do a bunch of micro plans anyway.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you.
Michael, what are your
Michael,
thoughts?
any issues with
Yeah.
that? Does it do you any good to have us seek a one-size-fits-all general plan?
No, I mean, I would want to keep some, I think it's important that we do take a holistic approach at some level, rather than the patchwork. I mean, I think the patchwork's handy to solve problems on an ad hoc basis, but I do think that having a general plan update to some scale, where we're not looking at patchwork, sort of to repatch all the patchwork is important, so.
If it
maybe
has
it's not a
value-
multi-year plan, but maybe it's.
Yeah, I just didn't want to have a make work item in there where you felt like, oh, well, I got a free 2 hours, I guess I got to sit there and figure out.
Well,
know.
so and maybe this can come off or just be worded in a different way, but in the May 20, what's our second meeting, in May 21st
First.
council meeting, we'll be bringing a discussion item to council to vet the scope for an RFP to do a general plan land use element refresh to address this item. And so it's not comprehensive in the sense that it's not all general plan elements, meaning public safety, circulation. It is a land use focus because I think that's the greatest need. And it is a land use focus east of PCH because I also think that that's the greatest need
If
right
it's
now.
helpful
So
to you-
it can be reworded, I think.
If it's helpful
Yeah,
to you,
we
we
can-
can keep it, and if you understand the meaning as written, there's no need to
So do you
dabble
want
with
to
it.
add, is this the small town charm? Does it kind of fit here? I know you wanted to put it in there as a goal.
It's 5D.
Yeah,
It's
but,
currently 5D.
I mean, if you're talking general plan, that's where you would have that conversation about what is El Segundo. That's
Right.
why we have zoning. That's why we have local
So do
control
we
for
want to
now.
put that in there, though, in some wording in there to say?
I would
It's
put it in
already-
every one.
It's already 5D, look at 5D, Carol, because that talks about land use, enforcement policies, and growth, all while preserving El Segundo's quality of life and small town character.
Okay,
Yeah, it can be both.
yeah. So let's add that wording into the goal number 4C. Language
Can-
about,
Can we kill, are we saying we're eliminating one of them because they're kind of duplicative?
No, he
or
wants it
no?
in both.
No,
Okay.
I would like to have them be especially redundant.
So we're leaving C?
You're adding.
no, you're adding wording.
What is the
My
wording?
Lawyer glasses on, hold on.
I think the only, to address Mayor Pro Tem's comments, I think the only thing that may change in addition to 4C is the comprehensive update, because we're not necessarily endeavoring down that path. We're focusing on land use only, so. we
That's
can-
what I was saying, 5D kind of says that, doesn't it? Implement community planning, land use, and enforcement policies,
Yeah,
and
but
preserve small town character.
But, Ryan, you want to add that in there, right?
Yeah. I mean, the general plan is important, right? We're not gonna not update our general plan. That's how we decide what the city will look like 60 years from now.
Say, develop a multi-year plan to maintain an updated general plan, or just maintain a modern and innovative general plan?
While preserving
I think the
small town
latter,
character.
yeah.
While preserving the small town farm.
Scratch the development multi-year.
Encouraging responsible growth and preserving El Segundo's quality of life and small town character.
Are you billing by the hour?
Is that five, are we?
I'm about to.
Are we down to five now?
No,
Is that
we're
five?
still
Or
on C.
four? Oh, we're still
We're
on C.
still on C. We're still on C.
So
We're
go with
augmenting
what-
C.
Go with what Ryan said. Go with what Ryan said.
C plus.
Ryan, did you write it down?
Yeah, I'm trying my best.
Because what we have here is develop
Multi-year.
a multi-year plan to address the comprehensive update to the general plan while preserving small-town character.
To ensure responsible growth while preserving El Segundo's quality of life and small-town character. Responsible growth is what is going to be a very hot topic we'll all hear about pretty soon.
Okay.
This one, the way it's written initially was to do a general plan update. You know, the $1 million and significant staff time and a full update. So if we're not doing that anymore, we should change it.
While we'll keep the clause starting with while, I think the printed part before that can change to maintain an innovative general plan while preserving small town character.
Ryan, do you
And I think
have
there's
that?
another
We can
point.
have that?
Develop a multi-year plan to address comprehensive update to the general plan to ensure responsible growth while preserving El Segundo's quality of life and small-town character.
That's it.
So we are committing to a
That's
comprehensive update to the
all of
general
it.
plan.
It's all out.
Read it again.
To address a comprehensive update to a general plan.
Misunderstanding.
So Ryan, what we need from you after that is, I need to have that piece of paper.
Good luck reading it, man, but yeah.
Okay.
This is all attorney-client stuff, I
basically,
can't.
What do you have, Madam Clerk?
I have everything. Develop a multi-year plan to address a comprehensive update to the general plan while preserving El Segundo's quality of life and small town character.
the goal here is to get away from the multi-year plan.
Yeah.
So instead of developing the comprehensive plan, can we switch to the maintain an innovative general plan and then add all those?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, where are you going now?
Maintain an innovative general
General
plan
plan.
while.
Okay, so get rid of develop and just start with maintain.
Maintain an innovative general plan and then
Maintain a comprehensive update.
Innovative, did you say innovative?
And
maintain
then-
an innovative general plan, and then that's the first part, and then I think we can jump to
Yeah.
Baldino's.
That way we're
For
not
part two.
mandating
I
a
would take the
whole
clerk's comments
improvement,
and we'll have to
right?
wordsmith that in.
But we're also saying we still want to maintain this
right.
general plan, so we have some cohesion of what
Yeah.
this town's supposed to be, what goes where. Just like SimCity folks.
Okay, so, to be clear, I'm taking Ryan's comments, the clerk is gonna have them, and that's gonna be the formal words that we're gonna use. Obviously, subject to change when Barb and I populate it with Ron. We've got to start, but we'll have to come back and get what that is. Okay, goal 5.
Okay. Can I talk to the second one? So I want to add, and this is, I want to plant the seed. I want to put in there the annually, the council works with the finance director and the city manager, city management, to determine a percentage increase to the general fund for raises and new FTEs on an annual basis, like we look out 2 to 3 years, and it takes the council out of negotiations of any MOUs for money.
So you want to add one?
I want the council at the highest level to say, we can afford 3% raise next year off 3% of the general fund increase, and that includes FTEs, raises, whatever the number is. I'm just making up 3%. And then it's up to the management to determine how to implement that. And I want to take the council out of all MOU negotiations when it comes to raises. Because it becomes political, and what happens is right now, the way we do it, it becomes political, as well it becomes siloed. And we make decisions in a vacuum. And I want to make sure we say, take a much more fiscal focus and say, we're looking at our new financial model. We can afford, I'm going to make this up, 3%, 4% at the general fund level, and that includes all new FTEs, all increases to salaries, and then it's up to the management team to implement that, or not.
So it would be, if we're spending $50 million a year on salaries, and we see a 3% increase, that means next year's budget for salaries is $51.5 million.
We're
City
done.
manager, make people
Figure
pay.
it out.
Call us next year.
Yes, that's what I would like to do.
What you're saying also, if I just want to make sure I understood it, is that you're looking for us to set the rate, but then be not part of any of the negotiation piece of it.
On the salaries. I don't think.
You're talking about through salaries, you're talking
Yeah,
about
I don't, yeah, personally, I don't
labor
think-
union
I think we should be
negotiation, all
out of
that?
that completely.
I
We
think
are- 'cause
I think it's tough for us to sit there and set the rate and then not have, and not be in the weeds on the rest of it personally. I
But here's
think
the
that's
deal, one
what
of the
our-
things I've always been told is that the city council has 2 employees, city manager and the city attorney. Yet we're sitting and establishing in the weeds of raises and everything, and so we need to get out of that. Like, I just feel that the process today is very politically driven and silo driven, and we need to, at the council level, set the strategy, city manager, you have maximum 4% this year. You manage the we're paying you to manage the city. You, along with your directors, manage the city. Move on.
I don't have any problem setting a policy goal of, as we enter this next negotiation round, here's what we want.
Mm-hmm.
I have a problem with not being involved in our fiduciary duty of making sure that not only the contract makes sense for the city, but our city employees are treated fairly. Like, I know it's messy. It's probably the least fun part of this job, but it's also very necessary that elected people are engaged in that process and have some oversight. Because if we just say, hey, here's a budget, I'm gonna go over here, like that, we've got to get our hands dirty.
Well, and it's really more for me the financial piece, right?
Right, I'm all for.
Because, as far as like other things like healthcare, streamlining healthcare, I want to be part of that process to ensure that we're streamlining everything for the city. But I think we should establish a max upfront so it's clear and the expectation is clear, so we don't go back and we make lawyers
What I agree
profitable.
with you on is the statement that our interim CFO said last time we were in this room, that we should make long-term decisions, we should use financial information to make long-term decisions, right? So when we're all agreeing we need more police, we hire more police, we know what that's going to cost. Not just today, but 10 years from now, 20 years from now, right? Our actions have long-term consequences.
Right.
So I agree, if you're saying, look, before we even get into the nuts and bolts, we're gonna have some kind of overarching financial commitment of what we can afford, and then we're gonna begin the process. But I think that's more of that goes for anything, public improvements,
Right.
Events. We have to look at our fiscal responsibilities, the money we have today, the less money we may have tomorrow, based on what rents are doing, and the promises we're making to our employees, the commitments we're making to our capital improvements, and make sure that that kind of makes sense. So I'm 100% on board with the statement saying that we must make long-term decisions based on financial information and projections. But I can't agree with us completely removing ourselves from labor negotiations, as much as I would like that. Trust me.
City
I
attorney,
think
would we
that's
have
our
to-
job.
Would we have to change the admin code if we were gonna do that?
Yeah, I mean, again, this would not be.
I know,
To implement that, but I think I would say, there are avenues for, greater delegation or further streamlining, and it's obviously a bargaining unit by bargaining unit, negotiation by negotiation basis, so there could be further direction to the city manager or to the HR director to manage a negotiation in a certain way, where maybe it's more hands-off, so to speak, but to divorce the council from the bargaining unit negotiations.
I just want to clarify one thing, Joaquin, thank you for that. I think, Carol, because we've talked about this before, I think what you're saying is maybe the process changes, but more importantly, there's a finite allocation
Money.
based on our general fund that's available for, like, public safety, for example. If we have 53% of our budget, we have 53% of our budget. The greater of or the lesser of percentage or absolute dollars, that's what we have.
Right.
And that's an idea that was brought forth by predecessor mayors that never got implemented. where the budget's the budget. We only have so many dollars. We cannot continue to grow the revenue base.
Right.
We've already demonstrated we don't have a significant appetite for raising taxes for our constituents. So with a limited amount of money comes a limited amount of resources that we have to pay for. I think that's what is that?
Yeah, I just want to change the process in that, you know, we do this dance in negotiations. It's like, I want 15, I'll give you 1. Okay, I'll take 12. Okay, we'll give you 2. We'll give you this. And then we finally get to a number that we all kind of knew was going to be. But then we've wasted time and money with lawyers and frustration. And I just think if we set the precedent, understanding our fiscal budget, that we can afford X for year 2, we can afford Y for year 3. So it's clear and the expectations are clear. So that we're not making lawyers, rich and, sorry, lawyer, but I just want to change the process.
Okay.
It's a frustrating process today, and we all walk away with what we knew was going to happen, but there's frustration built on both sides.
Okay. Barbara?
So for that one, I would suggest we go back and come to you with an idea for that under Goal 5 Strategy B, which is utilize the city's long-term financial plan to make financial decisions that support the strategic plan. So it would fit under that, but we'd have to give you a how.
It needs to be more specific. I think we need to.
Develop management-driven strategies to negotiate employee MOUs.
Maybe it's fiscal strategies.
Fiscal,
we want
yeah.
to have a tie to
Yeah, budget
financing.
driven.
Which is
I mean,
5B.
we do need to I mean, there are rules, legal rules under the Milius-Myers-Brown Act that we have to negotiate in good faith. So the dance is part of that, but there is a strategy where if we determine a fiscal policy, this is how much we have to spend in the pot, and we have these many contracts up, we can say to the associations, we can say, okay, well, we have this much on the table, how do you want to spend it?
Well, I mean, there's examples of cities where they've overpromised without having the funds, and then they end up going in bankruptcy. I mean, those examples are out there. So I just want to make sure we have a policy or practice that we know, and so as negotiations happen, the first one comes up, the second one comes up, by the get to the last one, there's no money left. And I want to make sure that there's a clear spreading of the wealth, and that there's a clear understanding of how that we're adhering to our fiscal policy. Do you know?
So Barbara, your suggestion to the mayor and council, take into consideration the council members' comments, is to put something under strategy B.
Yes.
And that language would be something similar to what the city manager said, to develop strategies for
Budget-driven strategy.
budget-driven strategies.
Well, and I mean, it really starts off the way.
Okay.
I mean, our current practice today, and correct me if I'm wrong, is we sit back and wait for the bargaining unit to give us the first proposal, right? That's how it works today?
The city can give the first proposal, or the bargaining unit can give the first proposal. When we come to city council seeking authority, it is helpful to know from the bargaining
That's the
unit
language.
what they have in mind.
But wouldn't it be best if we say to all the bargaining units, holistically, here's where we are today, here's what we think we can afford, and so that their expectation when they give the first proposal is in alignment to our expectation, so that we're not, the current process today builds frustration on both ends, and I think we need to eliminate it.
I mean,
We
I
have
think
done
it's the
that
nature of the
with the budget study session, and typically the finance director will come to the association meetings and say, this is where the city is today, and these are the priorities, so we're just giving you the full financial picture at the beginning of negotiations.
And I would say, I mean, we're in a goal-setting, aspirational sort of place here, so I think it's great to articulate these goals, but knowing that we could put out a budget number and say, this is how much we have for any given group, and they'll dispute that number. They'll dispute our underlying information and say, well, you're actually getting this and that and that. So, I mean, but I think it's
But
important
if we have
that
clear
that
transparency.
we create our narrative, we have our story, we have data, backing up what we're negotiating with. I think that's a valuable goal.
I understand what we're trying to get to, but also.
Start looking and tying things to a percentage of the general fund, and we get these windfalls on each year. Now if you're sitting there saying it's a 53% that goes to emergency services, and we get a tax measure that comes in, we get a tax resolution agreement that comes to whatever, and you get this big windfall. Look at the city of Carson right now. Is a huge, hundreds of millions of dollars of windfall. So now are you gonna sit there and say, okay, well now the budget's double what it used to be. Are we gonna double what we're gonna spend on emergency services? I think we gotta be a little bit careful on that. I get what you're saying. I think you're looking at, let's just, try to, but the way I look at it, you're almost saying, let's throw out the first volley and we're gonna stick to that number, but that's not negotiation. That's basically just saying, we're there, that's the end of it.
No,
You know?
but I just feel like there's so much time and money spent on the volley back and forth that money could go to the employees.
I agree, and
You know,
actually, that's why.
And I just feel like how much money do we spend on legal fees in all this, in negotiations? Why couldn't we be giving that money to the employees?
I agree.
And that's kind of how I feel like, because we just do this dance that,
I actually would argue instead
mean,
of
didn't
us
we
being
say-
more removed, we should be more involved, to be honest with you, because
But
that
we-
would separate the fact that we went through what, 2 negotiators, 3 sets of lawyers in
didn't we
4
already
years?
say at the beginning this, just because we've been doing it this way, we shouldn't, we need to challenge our
Take risks.
practices. We need to challenge our practices.
I think, honestly, a lot of those negotiations would get done faster if we had a different approach. Because look, we're a small town, we're a small city, so it's not like we're the city of LA and we have, all these people in all these different departments. It's kind of a personal department. So if we were, figured out a way to be a little bit more hands-on, the process would go quicker. Anyway, that's my opinion on that one.
I think that the essence of the message is to find some palatable suggestions on how to streamline it, to depoliticalize it, or how to make more. It's not over, but the message is there a way through the budgetary process to find something that all 5 of you can see eye to eye on?
I mean, I would love to know how much money we spent on legal fees in negotiations. I mean, it's probably some large number.
What we're saving in salaries.
So, Mayor,
I was saying, permission to move on.
okay.
No, I'm asking, do we have permission to move on? Yeah, okay, cool, let's go.
Okay, so here's what happened today. I know you're wondering.
Are we done with goal 5?
Five's not done.
Five not
Chris
done.
has one on there.
Well, okay, so you had one. All I heard is one comment, so.
Yeah, no, I was this is a mix probably of a goal and a task, but I would like to know if there's any interest in exploring putting a measure on to become a charter city.
Could we get the city attorney to give us a little bit of an overview?
So it's.
We're in a point in time where the courts, as of last week, seem deferential to charter cities' special prerogatives to include land use.
And, yeah, so there, so.
90 declared
That's right.
unconstitutional.
Yeah,
Now, we
so
wouldn't be
there-
retroactive, I'm sure, to things that existed before we became a charter city, but I don't think that the forecast in California is that there are gonna be less impositions on local control.
We're preparing a memo on that lower court case that will probably get appealed, but it's a good result for charter cities where it says that if you're a charter city, these mandated lot splits that required splitting of land and allowing duplexes on each parcel, charter cities are not obligated to offer that SB 9 lot splitting. So they're exempt under their municipal rule doctrine. So it's another example as far as there's Public Works sort of bidding flexibility that they have. There are different avenues in different areas of municipal law. We did provide a chart to the council maybe a month or 2 ago, but on this note, we're going to provide a memo on this particular case, and then we're going to provide a memo to council as well on the shape of what a charter amendment could look like for the council to make a decision on that. So those will be forthcoming, and to implement it, it would take a vote of the people. So, we would have until early mid-July to to present a measure and put on the ballot for the voters in November.
So you're saying my 5F is already happening?
Well, I mean, we're teeing it up for the council to make
No, I mean,
a collective
my
decision.
piece, yeah, would be
You're
to
exploring
evaluate
that.
it. There's already a body of work that will seed that evaluation. In that case, I yield my time. My work is done here. See you next year.
What about, Chris, your idea earlier about the gap that we have with EDAC going away and EDC?
Would that fall under our stickers and tasks, or?
Maybe, yeah. Because you got implement strategic initiatives to attract new businesses and foster business. It could be part of that.
Yeah, I think it fits. That's where I sort of envisioned this sort of amorphous economic, not development because that's redundant to a group we already have, but it would be advisory and piloting and not, economic development as a company right now is implementing, right? They can do things, they exist as their own entity for that reason because they can make specific land use recommendations. This group would be sort of advisory and probably have some of the old band back together in theory.
There's 18 strategies.
I'll get devoted back to that one.
Just kidding. Okay. Any more feedback on goal 5? So,
Just a one.
there's one on strategy B. It says develop budget strategies for existing MOUs, which will be refined some more with the E-team. So, with your permission, Mayor and members of the council, I actually thought that was a good dialogue this morning on reshuffling, rewording, feeling good about it, that led to some combining of some strategies and some wordsmithing. And keep in mind, when you go up for the dot exercise, there's going to be just a little bit more that the clerk and Barbara and the city manager will look at, and we'll listen to the tape to make sure we got content accurate for you. That's the most important thing, content accurate. You're at the point where the dot exercises are in front of you. You've got 2 red dots, 2 blue dots, 2 green dots. You're familiar with it. Your red dots are your priorities. Your top 2 things, they go in no matter what. So when you go to up to the 4, 5 goals that we've reshuffled and done some other things, you don't have the correct titles. Well, we have the titles, but some of the wordsmithing needs to still happen. 2 red dots, 2 blue dots, 2 green dots. Number 1 priority, blue is 2, green is 3. And so this is your chance to go up and say, oh my gosh, what am I going to do?
So we only eliminated, we combined.
You
3
combined
into 1.
3.
That was the only change.
That's correct.
More or less.
So there's 18 there now. Red, blue, green. So, Mayor and Council, if you would, put the dots on there. We'll take a 5-minute break when you're done, or we'll take a longer break. I'm not sure yet. Get your lunch, everything else. We're going to try to power through this depending on your dialogue. So I'm going to turn this over to Rhonda that's going to tell you what the dots now mean.
Hold on one second. Can I put a monkey wrench in this real quick? Because there's some things I wanted to bring up about suggested changes, and for some reason, I don't know whether it was we switch every goal around or paper around, but I didn't get there.
Okay.
All right.
We'll come back
and some of it
to
is pertinent to
strategies.
this.
Okay.
Is that, some of the things to add in that I wanted to look at as a council is staffing. Bottom line is, if we want to accomplish any of those things over there, we need staff. And we've been at a neutral head count for 4 years. That was the whole thing that we implemented 4 years ago. But for example, the Parks and Rec department in particular, we're about ready to spend $15 million on a pool. We're ready to spend $40 million on a renovation of the park, and we can't even staff it right now. So do we look at hiring more full-time people for Park and Rec and a little bit less reliance on part-timers, where, at night we're closing down checkout buildings at 7 o'clock at night, yet we have programming until 9 o'clock at night because we don't have people to work it. So I would like to consider investing in staffing when it comes to the recreation department in particular. Another one I think Chris kind of touched on that I wanted to bring up was we always talk about 98% of our general fund revenues coming from businesses, yet we have one full-time person. And, you know, Barbara's doing many things. So it's like, what we call it, 1 1/3. Should we be investing in economic development as the city instead of talking about just doing a committee? Because if we want to be outward facing, someone that's looking at it, that's their job to look at this, I think it should be on staff. So I would like to consider how that looks. The third piece I want is on, and we're in the library, so this is perfect. I don't believe that library and park and rec should be combined. We did it at one point in 2020 due to COVID, and I think it was a budgeting exercise. I think Ally and her team have so much to do with recreation and everything in this city. I'd rather them concentrate on that. And does the library, can it be run just on with a library manager and all that? Or do we even look at this potential for it to take it to county? What would that look like from a financial picture for us? So I just think that there's some structural things that we should look at, because we're about ready to commit an awful lot of money to the city in capital improvement, but we're not looking at how we're going to staff it.
Okay.
So can I bring up one point? When we said the net neutral from a head count, it wasn't to stop change and growth. It was to stop the lack of justification for the head count. So what we wanted to see is, if you need a head count, you need to justify it. And you can't just say, okay, I want 4 here, I want 3 here, and then it's like, we're approving. No, it's a net neutral with the budget, but then if you feel and you need to make a strategic change to an organization or expansion, then bring justification for it. And then we're open to that justification, kind of like the police department. When the police department came to us and said, we know crime is going up, we need to bring in more police officers, and we need to expand the number of open FTEs because it's going to be constantly rolling, and we know we're never going to, it's going to be a hard time to get there, but we just need it so that we can go out and solicit. And we all agreed and went with and agreed to that, so to that strategy. But I think that's the issue, is we need the department heads to look at those strategies and come. We're just sitting here, putting we're in for a second and then we're out. You guys are living and breathing it. We want you to come up with some ideas and solutions, and then pitch that idea, but make sure that there's justification for it.
Okay. So
I think those are good points that are probably best discussed during the budget. Right? And I know I've talked to Daryl about, we have a lot of temporary employees. Let's look at what those positions are. Let's look at how long they've been open and how long it takes to fill them, and then reassess whether or not that position is really needed, right? How long do you have a temporary employee? And I've been a temporary employee. I didn't do a whole lot back in the day, and I'm sure we've got great temporary employees. But if we're looking about efficient staffing, I think we should look at the budget and figure out, do our departments have the resources they need to deliver the quality of service that we've been talking about this entire time? I think it's a great point.
So more of a budgeting conversation rather than strategic planning. Is that safe? As long as we get it discussed, I'm fine.
That's how we get to our goal.
Yeah.
How do we get optimization?
And that goes back to Drew's point about risk-taking. If just the whole library county conversation, right? Let's have a look at it. What is it? And we can say no, we can say yes, but, come with some solutions or some ideas and pitch those concepts and ideas, and then we can have a conversation about it. But we don't know.
Right.
And I actually agree with you on the full FTEs for, full-time FTEs for Parks and Recs. But we don't know because we don't live and breathe it. We just need, like Ally, for you to come and say in the budgeting process, I want to reorg my organization to look like this, and that includes these changes.
I think, Councilmember, if I may, we'll put these considerations like in the appendix so that it's here, so that we don't lose it. We don't want to lose it. And as I understand it, the intent was to talk about it during the budget process.
Yes.
Unless there was some, okay. Rhonda, back to you to talk about DOTS.
All right, so everyone participated in the DOT exercise, and we now have our results to share. The results are based on the red dots. The red dots were your #1 top priorities. And as you can see on the board, they have been circled in red, the ones that have now risen to the top. We have under our new goal #1, strategy A, seek opportunities to implement, expedite the projects in the capital improvement program, ensure that city-owned infrastructure is well maintained, including streets, entryways, and facilities. We had a red dot, we also had a blue and green, so good consensus here. That has made it to a top priority. Also, strategy B, we have 1 red dot, 4 green, good consensus here. This was seeking opportunities to implement use of innovative technology to improve services, efficiency, and transparency. Moving on to goal #2, we have strategy A, only 1 dot, but again, this was important to a council member. It needs to be considered in part of our top strategies. This item is to comprehensively address the unsheltered homeless population.
Because everyone's on.
Moving now to goal #4, we have 2 red dots. This is strategy B, enhance staff recruitment, retention, and training to ensure delivery of unparalleled city services and implementation of city council policies. Moving to goal #5, we have two strategies selected here. Strategy C, implement strategic initiatives to attract new businesses and foster business-to-business networking and collaboration to retain and grow existing businesses. 3 dots here, again, excellent consensus. Strategy D, again, great consensus, 2 reds, 3 blue. This is to implement community planning, land use, and enforcement policies that encourage growth while preserving El Segundo's quality of life and small town character. So this was, we were really striving towards the typical 10 that you've always had as 10 strategies. We have 6 solid strategies here. The question before you now is, do you like the 6 and want staff to focus on the 6, and they will continue to focus on the others as well, but do you want to identify your blues, your blue priorities as well? If you were to go with the blues, we would have 6 more for a total of 11 strategies, so 1 more than you typically had, unless you'd like discussion about maybe eliminating one of those blues. We have a little bit of opportunity here to have some discussion about the blues. They are also circled. Our blues, we have under goal #2, this was the item that you had already consolidated 3 into 1. We have a blue and a green here, holding large-scale operations within or in close proximity to city council environmental. This is all your environmental, natural man-made disasters, emergency preparedness, communications, and so forth. So we have that item. We also have under goal 4, monitor, establish key performance indicators. 1 blue dot here. This is something that probably will be ongoing anyway. Staff just presented that to you today. It's in the works. You need that as a strategy, as one of your top
I'll say no, I put that one up there.
You're okay with that
Yeah.
one coming off? Okay. Then moving down to strategy C under goal 4, this is improving organizational excellence by implementing processes and tools that facilitate effective data collection and analysis while promoting data-driven decision-making. This one has 2 dots. Goal #5, we have strategy A with 2 blues, identify opportunities for new revenues and enhancement of existing revenues, exploration of potential funding options to support programs and projects. We also have strategy B that made the blue category with 1 blue dot, utilize the city's long-term financial plan to make financial decisions that support the goals of the strategic plan. So with the 1 item being eliminated, you could have your 10 if you want the reds and blues. I guess now's the opportunity for feedback.
Or just 6. So you get to 10 with red and blue, or just 6 priority reds. And we wanted to throw that to you for conversation about how you felt about that.
I guess I can throw this kind of back on staff. I don't think 10 strategies are able to be performed in a 12-month period, and if we're going to be doing this every 12 months instead of maybe every other year, maybe it should just be 6.
I would agree.
And let's not cloud it.
We're gonna look at all of these anyway.
But 12 months from now, we're going to sit there and say, okay,
Right.
we bulleted you down to 6. Where are we at? That's my opinion.
I mean, from staff standpoint, I would agree that focusing on 6 is a more, not doable, but it would be, it really focuses our efforts, rather than spreading us too thin.
But also the other ones are still going to be implemented. They're just not going to be the top priority.
What's actually interesting, like goal number 5, obviously, is a key priority. And we left it as goal 5. If we're going to align, if we're going to move the goals in the order of importance, then goal number 5 should be goal number 1, right? And so how do we, and so goal number 5 and the new goal number 1 are the top 2. So it really should be 5 and then the goal, like, if we're going to put an order of importance.
Line them up by the dots, right? So you got 3 dots.
So 5 should become 1.
2, your 2, 1 dot, your 5 and 6.
So line them up by the dots.
Reorganize this list so the priorities reflect the council members' priorities. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Thought it made sense when I said it.
5 should become 1.
I'm glad you restated what I just said.
Okay, it's my job.
You're on fire today, to be honest.
I got places to be, man. I love all you guys, trust me.
I just need to talk in a deeper voice.
No.
I know.
I'm just talking about what you had on that board there. Those top 5 priorities, let's see those in the rank, and I'll give them to you. 5C's got 3 red stars. That's on our list, should be the top priority, right? Even though it's goal 5. It's our strategic, right? That's what we're talking about.
Talking about this list, just reordering.
I'm talking about the 5 things he had on the board.
It'll be on the board in a second.
Yeah.
So we can do that internally.
She's probably doing it right now. By now.
Marizan, are you?
Yeah. You got 3 dot, 2 dot, 2 dot, 1 dot, 1 dot, and we're done.
You're so logical, guys.
Let me make sure I understood it. You wanted to prioritize
What
based
happens
on
when you
the
build for every
dots?
6 minutes of your life?
Yeah, Ryan's saying, if
Mark-
this is your
Marizan.
list of strategies, then, so this one is number 1, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then accordingly, based on the number of dots.
Okay.
Yeah, like the goals are the same, but our strategies, as far as top priorities, like,
Yeah.
obviously, these are the individual things we want to see implemented, like Lance said, relatively
We
sooner
did
than.
that.
I mean, you got to do everything, unfortunately.
So they are changing
It's,
the order of the
we're still doing
goals
everything.
Here, 12 months from now, you've knocked out the top 6, or you're far along, then it's a successful strategic plan.
I'll give you an example. So,
Must be 1,
the top goal,
2, right?
which is now like 3A, was about enhancing communication and all that stuff. Like, that's fallen down because we're doing better.
Right.
You know, so let's prioritize what we need to prioritize, and we're still going to maintain the excellence or optimization or whatever word you guys want to choose with everything else.
I mean, you recall last year at this time, we were talking about potentially
So
hiring
it's
a
the
PR
same
firm,
words, they're
right?
just saying this is
Right.
one.
We wanted to enhance it, and then you guys ran with it, and you crushed it this year, so it's.
And it's dropped down as a priority
Well.
because we're doing it well. So let's focus on where we want to focus, and
Right.
Goal number 2. Right. And then this one,
I will do this.
this would be. So this one. So let's make sure we got this right. This is now goal number 1, right?
Yes.
Goal number 2
It's 5D, right below it.
is right here.
Nope. Right, go right below that. 5C, 5D, or that one in the end, whatever that thing is.
That's confusing goals and strategies. No.
So are we
It's-
renumbering the goals?
We're renumbering goals. We're not renumbering.
I gotta go in 10 minutes, so.
So this stays as goal number 5.
That stays as 5.
So strategy C and D become A and B, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Become priorities.
Right, right.
But, so, their priorities. This list gets realigned according to the dots. That's pretty much it.
This is still.
You're seeing that aligns with what our actual top 5 priorities are. Yeah, I get it.
Can't do the card exercise until we.
Yeah. We can't, okay, let's confess it again. We're lost.
Okay, here's the. I got it.
Absolutely
Take
lost.
your red dots, they equal 3 points. Take your blue dots, they equal 2 points. Take your green dots, they equal 1 point.
This guy gambles.
Rate it. It's not that hard.
Well, so, we have to get the goals straightened out
No,
to make sure we
we
have
got
them in
it,
the
we got
right
it, we got
order.
Just has to renumber them.
I think Zen's already done it for us.
Okay.
Yep.
It's not a contest.
Seek implementation, expect projects and capital improvements. This is great. I'm happy with this. All right, everybody. See you next year.
But we don't understand where the goals are. The math goals. Where are these words? So Zen, help.
We're just talking priorities now.
Okay.
Everything
Everything. Oh, I see. I see. Okay, so
Yeah.
this is goal.
The goals don't change.
one.
Our priorities are different.
So maybe this one is number.
I see.
These are our overarching goals.
So they
This
already
is what we
have
want to
it
focus
here.
on the next year.
So the cards are number 20.
Okay. Okay, we have understandability. Now, back to Rhonda for the last exercise, because we all have places to go. Rhonda.
So everyone, the council members have a little stack of 3x5 cards. They are numbered 1 through 10. The good news is your task has been cut down because you only have 6 cards to work with now instead of 10. But the idea is that you would provide one suggestion on each card that correlates to your new top priorities. So again, you've got 6 cards. They're numbered 1 through 6. They match these items. So as you look at card number 1, you're going to read, implement strategic initiatives to attract new businesses and foster business-to-business networking, collaboration to retain and grow existing businesses. And you're going to write down a thought, something that's important to you, a suggestion that you would like to see city staff consider as an action. What would you like to see done with that item? You'll jot that down and then you'll move on to card number 2. Read goal 5, strategy D, implement community planning, etc. What would you like to see in terms of an action? So you'll have 6 cards to do that for the 6 items here. We'll give you a few minutes to do that while you're having lunch. Turn those in to us as quickly as possible. We're going to sort them and report out as to what you all have suggested for staff.
What do you want to see done?
Action item.
Action items, correct. So 1 item per card. Any questions on the process?
Okay.
All right, good to go.
We'll give you like 5-10 minutes kind of thing. Lunch, it's a working lunch, thank you. With your permission, Mayor, we're ready. Okay, so we're going to use this as your reference point to how we've rearranged the top priorities, and the cards are in reference to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we're going to start with 1. So these are some suggestions, and there's some great commonalities here. Change the city from 1-hour presentation to a 30-minute presentation, or quarterly newsletters to highlight the, I know.
30-minute presentation, 30 minutes of just networking with everybody in the room.
There you
I
go.
feel like we all get together. It's a great group of people.
Yep.
And then we talk to them, and then they all leave.
Yep. Yep.
More networking, less talking.
Develop a business concierge, which is an interesting idea, and bring it back to economic development, or the development of a one-stop shop for business to work with a city to onboard. EDAC like advisory group to advise and on behalf of the city.
Did I capture that correctly?
Yeah, mostly advise, pilot, and liaise. So if we want something like, everybody has their special magic project, right? I definitely want that piece of property from LADWP. No one has time to work on that. City manager doesn't have time to work on that. But some retired guy on our EDAC would be like, oh, I'll call up LA all day, every day, and ask for that piece of property. So that was sort of the concept, that they would have more of an amorphous role.
Okay. Thank you. I have implement idea from a couple years ago, connecting ambassadors to assist the POC? Point of contact. I'm so sorry.
Remember we approved a ombudsman, but we hated that term. The idea was a young entrepreneur-minded professional who had worked in a venture fund or a startup that's connected into the community that is doing a lot of bird dogging for us, which Barbara and her team have been doing, but it was to be that point.
And then quarterly meetings with entrepreneurs, mayor and council and CEOs. And then the EDAC are similar, is what you had. So those are suggestions for action-oriented things to do under Goal 5 strategy.
And you'll give us all of these.
Yes, we're going to put them in a format. I'm just throwing them out there for continuity's sake. Number 2, proactivity, Goal 5, Strategy D. Proactivity, advocate on state level for more local control and zoning. Flexible zoning that impacts business needs. Manage growth and maintain small town charm. Find opportunity for parking, housing, and infill development. Work with ES and EDC to see opportunity to rezone legacy properties. So there's commonality there. There's commonality. Group 3, or Goal 3, Goal 1, Strategy A. So, legacy property.
Let's say you had a few 100,000 square feet that you're building plane fuselages that aren't going to get built there anymore.
Like L'Oreal.
Maybe south of there.
Maybe something. Gotcha.
Conceivably. Like, that would be something that'd be like, oh, are there other things that we could do with that property, or is it zoning still appropriate? Does it need to be just manufacturing? Does it need an overlay that says you can do other stuff?
But not housing.
What's that?
But not housing, that'd be crazy.
I'm gonna say there could be overlays to do all manner of things. And if people wanted to address a specific land use idea, then I would be happy to not entertain it as is appropriate.
Yeah.
Understood.
Okay. It'd be a smooth transition to the number 3. Priority 3, Goal 1. Let's be more proactive about serving out, or about securing outside grants and funding to improve our infrastructure and create a multi-year plan for our needs. Look out for ways to expedite CIPs, incentives, and have have dedicated project managers. And staff as needed, hire project managers or contact them as needed. Be creative. That's what I have for 3. Number 4, Goal 1, Strategy B. Let's focus on the rollout and implementation of the new ERP system. Go to the VC community. Somebody help me with that. Venture capital. I'm not doing good here, huh?
No, you're doing great.
Venture capital. Seek better platforms for, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Mike, you want me to read it? My writing's terrible.
It might be mine. It might be mine.
No, it's the.
Turn it sideways.
Go to the VC community seeking better platforms for leveraging AI LLMs, large language models. Avoid implementing legacy entrenched systems, i.e. Tyler.
Oh, gosh, that's a thorny subject for me personally. I'm Tyler. Look outside government technology. Look to innovations in the private sector. And pilot tech aggressively across services. So if you can really see, there are really commonalities happening here. And number 5, if you look at Goal 2, Strategy A, provide our police and fire the resources needed to implement their new action plan. Measure and input results and interactions and outcomes. take a proactive approach when enforcing grants pass.
Grants
rule. You and I write similarly. I should be able to read it. Create citywide by department training and action plans. Seek out county and state funding. And there should be these should be micro solutions. Nonprofits, aggressive reunification, example, buy flights.
Then when you talk to, one of the things that works really well, has worked in the past when we had that gentleman living in Library Park, or has worked really well, when we were talking through West Coast Cares, is those micro solutions where we get to know one person, find out their family situation, he needs a bus ticket back to Reno, we buy him a bus ticket back to Reno and arrange for mom to meet him at the bus station. It's demonstrably the most efficient. I think West Coast Cares spends just over $700 per sheltered person to get them into housing, as opposed to the county, which spends just north of $74,000 per housed night. So that's a crazy number. What's that?
That's an NPO, West Coast Cares?
Yeah, West Coast Cares, and it's the chairman of the board of it is Bob Brand here at 909 for Internet Brands, or Bob Briscoe at Internet Brands is on the board. So he works in El Segundo, but it only, I think, is in Santa Monica right now.
Interesting. That is interesting.
But Tracy Parks was at the event, and we're trying to figure out if it would continue into the LA City Council, because her district is contiguous from Santa Monica to our beach, where we have some unsheltered individuals, that could be a useful access point. And if that's $700 of city money to get one of those people back home to live with their sister or whatever, it's smart money, I think.
Our last one, number 6, Goal 4, Strategy B. Review all staffing levels during the budget process. Implement an innovative LMS and start reporting.
Learning management system, sorry.
Thank you. I'm just going with it like I knew. I was going, what is it? And completion and compliance. Streamline onboarding process and eliminate outside panels. Council needs. Yeah.
I'd start around that one.
Unvarnished truth. It's an interesting word on staffing, pay, and benefits.
Can you repeat that?
Council needs unvarnished, is that how I'm pronounced?
Yeah.
Truth on staffing, pay, and benefits. Yeah. And so when you look back at what has happened in the course of the day, for me to you, doing this with you the second time, I thought there was high energy on the goals and reformatting and the prioritization of them. And it's not wordsmithing. What you discovered about each other is what I've had some sidebars on, and that is, but words matter. And the importance of them tap into your attitudes, values, and belief about who you are, which makes for the word that keeps coming up, and that is, what does culture really mean? And culture, from me to you, is a culmination of attitudes, values, and beliefs. It can't really be defined differently, but it has descriptive meanings to all of us. And so when we've done that, then we went into the exercise about strategies. And then we prioritize those strategies, which are on the board here. And then you've come to a conclusion about the 6. And there was some realism or pragmatism about, let's achieve them, as opposed to having so many that we don't do them. And then we did this card exercise as, not only is it at a high level, but what are the to-dos that you want to see happen? And that was the Barbara question to me, is now that we have them at a high level, what are the actionable things now that we can take and come back and say we are actually performing, which ties into not only KPIs, but actually ties into what you want to see, which is, can you show me a result in a measurable time period that we can come back and say, crossed off and move forward? And I think you did that today. I myself wasn't anticipating the reorganization and shuffling because we haven't had a chance to connect. But it tells me high energy. It tells me that goes to the staff, which is the ability to execute that in a way that you can evaluate using KPIs that lead you to what does not happen in municipal government, and that is high accountability with realistic goals that your community can say, we see it. And I think you did that today as we're closing. And so the wrap up from me to the mayor and council is our expectation back to you is Rhonda and I will compile this data by the end of May. Our goal is to produce this back to the city manager's office, and in particular Barbara, who, as I understand it, the goal will be to come back to the city council in the month of June with what we've just done today.
And make sure I get them so I can add them to the minutes.
Yes.
Thank you.
And so having said that, that's the wrap up. And so mayor and members of the council, any closing remarks or thoughts? It was an intense day, but I think the energy was there. And I have to tell you, I don't see a lot of that sometimes. It's same place, same way, same time, with risk aversion for either electoral years or non-electoral years. But I just thought it was high energy, and I applaud you for that, Mayor.
Well, I'll turn it over to my colleagues.
Yeah, I just want to thank the staff. You know, I'm going through this exercise. It can be challenging and difficult, and I just think everyone's so, you know, willing to look and challenge ourselves to be better. And I just want to thank the staff for putting this together and, you know, listening and working with us to, you know, help ensure our city's moving forward and has excellence. You know, when Drew and I started doing this strategic planning back 8 years ago, you know, it was a whole new experience, and I think we've come a long way. And now we're fine tuning, and, you know, words do matter and prioritization does matter, and we've made some great successes. So congratulations to everybody for all the successes you've implemented, and the fact that we can now hone in on just 6. Obviously, the broader stuff is there, but I just think it's a testament to how you guys are functioning together as a team. I just want to congratulate you and thank you for that.
Happy to be part of the process. My only ask next time is that I hear more from staff. Like, I hear from these 4 people all the time, and I love it. But the boots on the ground, the knowledge you guys have is going to help kind of shape how things get done. And maybe it's a process we learn as we go through these priorities. This works, this doesn't work. But I am grateful to have the opportunity to sit down and think about who we are as a city, what's important to us, what are our next steps to keep moving forward. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ryan. I would agree with Ryan on that. You know, our job, right, we only have, as Carol noted, right, we have 2 employees, and our job is to create sort of big strategic directions, and staff goes forth and does great things. But with that in mind, our only feedback about whether our things are overly ambitious, unrealistic, or overly cautious is filtered up through several different levels, or every few years from a labor group telling us that it you know, was completely ridiculous. So I think that having sort of direct staff input, a little bit like we had on item 3 of, hey, you want this, here's where we are with our capacity and our abilities, or, hey, you want a technical solution, here's what it takes to pull in technical solutions. Those sorts of inputs, these and the budgeting meetings are sort of the best places to filter that information in. So as this gets processed back to be sort of regurgitated back to us, I think it's an opportunity for city manager, if you grab your department heads and be like, hey, they said they wanted this, can we do it? Or as a matter of fact, like, we can do it and it's probably overly cautious, you can do a little bit more, whatever the case may be. But that's my only feedback, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Chris. Yeah, and I agree. It's a great point, Councilmember Baldino. Just to let the council know, you know, leading up to this day, we as an E-team discussed this numerous times during our E-team. In fact, we've set aside a couple E-team meetings to go through these, to get Barbara to the point where we could present these to you today. So it did not go quiet, you know, this process was not quiet on behalf of the department head. So, and I do agree, the feedback that you'll get, whether it's through the budget workshop, which is next Monday, you'll get a lot of the employee feedback. But we did spend a lot of time as an E-team going through each of these goals and strategies and values and so forth. So, and I just want to thank everyone too, because for me now, it gives me an opportunity to share these now, down through the organization also. And so they're going to recognize that the priorities have shifted a bit. The goals have shifted in terms of the number 1 through 5. And I think that sends a message, too, of where we should be heading as a team. So, thank you.
I want to make sure my comment wasn't taken as critical. We rely on the professionalism and expertise of this executive team. We expect you to go out and make our vision a reality so that we can all take credit for it, end of the day, right? So thank you for what you do. Thank you for your time today.
Well, first of all, before I speak, Madam Clerk, feedback. The other elected official in the room, please.
Or any department.
I'm just over here taking notes. I'm good, thank you.
Anyone else like to chime in? Department heads?
I think it was a great exercise. I love that we're invited to be a part of it. I think it's motivational. It really kind of reminds us why we do what we do. And so I thank you guys for doing this.
Excellent. You know, maybe to my colleague's point, there's an opportunity to do a little feedback, a little follow-up with each person, survey everyone that participated, what worked, what didn't work. You know, just like what worked for you, what didn't. I'd like to be more involved as a department head in the future going forward with bringing my ideas, whatever it is. I think we should do that. Okay. I think it'll help you as facilitator, both of you. It'll help us improve our process. And then reflecting on what Carol said, it's hard to believe. We've come a long way. So the first one, I think they had done some level of strategic plan in the past, but it had been a few years. It was a little bit disjointed. I think I might have even facilitated the first one practically. We have come a long way. That was a kind of a chunky, disjointed process. And when I think about an organization, what do you want? You want alignment. Where are we heading as an organization? Are all the key stakeholders aligned towards the same common objectives? Do we achieve that today? Absolutely, I believe we did. It's also shared values. And we refined those a bit, adding that one about risk tolerance. Do we have shared values as an organization? Absolutely. But then you have to know how you're doing along the way. And I think that's the opportunity for our city. That's why the council spent several different closed sessions deliberating what we want you to focus on as a city manager, those 11 specific measurable outcomes, because we want to know and we want to be able to provide feedback. How are we doing along the way for the next year? And then along those lines, and to Ryan's point and Chris's as well about employee input, the employee engagement survey is something that we've gotten pushed back over the years for. Well, we're in the middle of a union negotiation, or this group's not happy. So what? Let's do the survey anyway. Let's find out what our employees truly think. Let's make them feel comfortable. There's the right protections in place so that their feedback is anonymous. Because I've heard in the past there were issues with trust. So let's figure that out. Let's make sure people feel comfortable giving us honest feedback. So that's the only way we're really going to move towards a world-class organization. So let's do that. Can we all agree we're going to do that? I think that's really, really important to get that feedback, and we're going to get some things that we're not happy about, just like on the NPS. But that doesn't stop us from doing the NPS 6 years in a row and continue to improve how we do. So thank you to everybody, and I've really enjoyed it, appreciate it. Carol?
I just had to add one comment about the engagement with the employees. You know, we've done this now, and then we have the budgeting process, which is really more structural, like, you know, if they need to restructure the department, come in justification of how they want to restructure. But if we've come up with some ideas here, and we put out some goals, if there's, you know, what I've learned when I do restructure, the answers are always there. You just aren't hearing them, or people don't feel the ability to say the answer. So is there a way, you know, I'm going to challenge Daryl, as you present these goals and strategies to your teams, incentivize someone to come up with a solution. Hey, you know, I've been thinking about this, and let's reward that, and like even from recognition or bonus, whatever it is, but come up with some type of program that encourages people to come up with solutions to some of these goals. And so that we're hearing from people. You know, I think back to that, you know, the hot Cheeto guy, you know, the guy that came up with hot Cheeto. It was a janitor, and he's pitched this idea because they were failing in sales, and they did an outreach saying, hey, if anyone has an idea on Cheetos, how do we reinvent them? And it was a janitor. They came up with this idea of hot Cheetos, and he pitched it and made the company millions of dollars. And you should watch that program if you haven't seen it. But the answers are there. We just need to make sure we're opening the door to hear them. And I just want to make sure that all the teams know that as we have these conversations, like to Ryan's point, we're only here for a second, and then we move away. You guys are the professionals, and you have the answers, but we just need to make sure we're hearing that information coming up.
That's one follow-up for E-team that we're going to set aside some time to look at all the new strategies and come up with our list of action items for next year. And then put them into Monday and start tracking them. And also look at the KPIs and try to set up a way to get the baseline numbers for July. And I want to thank Zen, because we spent countless hours talking about all of these strategies, so thank you, Zen. That's all.
That concludes my comments.
We're ahead of
Mayor.
schedule.
We're ahead of
30
schedule.
minutes back. Good job.
All right, good job, you guys.